30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Dan Hurley just informed his players.
Oh boy, did the Lakers get worked here. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Good morning, Pearl.
You cut off Woj there.
I cut off Woj. I'm sorry.
What's going on, Maggie?
My headphones won't work. Oh, gosh. I've got major technical issues going on.
I was right with you. We were just arguing before the show about this Dan Hurley thing so much that we're barely ready for the start of the show.
I literally cannot get my headphones on. Something's not working. Technical issues this morning. Is Woj stopped talking, or am I still talking over him?
I know. Woj just stopped talking. Long story short, Maggie, Dan Hurley's not going to the Lakers.
No, and I really do think that the Lakers look pretty bad here this morning. Welcome to the show, by the way. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, of course, on the Infinity Sports Network. I can't help but think that the Lakers really did get worked here by Dan Hurley. And whether it was, Hurley actually wanting to sit down with the Lakers brass and hear what they had to say, yeah, maybe that's part of it. I think the bigger part of it, Perloff, was Dan Hurley may have been insulted that a contract from UConn was not coming as quickly as he wanted it to. Turns out that the team, or the school, I guess, and the state of Connecticut, they were in talks with Hurley before Hurley went to LA to sit down with the Lakers. That's information we all could have used last week. This makes it look like more clear of a bargaining chip and a ploy, a negotiation, however you want to put it. It's not nefarious, but it makes it look a little bit more calculated by Dan Hurley to say, hey, this contract from UConn might not be where I want it to be. I'm going to use the Lakers as the ultimate bargaining chip to play you against UConn, and I'm going to get what I want from the school, and that looks like it's happening.
This is so typical of our show. You always see conspiracy, and you will not read a story as it is. There's always some other possible angle here, right?
I mean, what kind of fool just takes it for what it is?
Let me just float this possibility.
Yeah.
Maybe the Lakers need a head coach, and they're looking around the coaching landscape, and there's an unproven ESPN analyst. There's a failed assistants, failed former head coaches that said, you know what, why don't we expand our list? And somebody in a boardroom said, oh, how about the best college coach by a mile, Dan Hurley? Why don't we call him or call Woj, one of the two, his representative, and say, hey, would you be interested in the Lakers? And Dan Hurley is like, heck yeah, I'd be interested in the Lakers. And they came in and they brought him into LA, and it just didn't work out. Occam's razor, simplest explanation. Maybe it wasn't, yes, he will end up getting more money, of course, out of this, but maybe it wasn't anything other than what it seems like. The Lakers expanded their list. Yep. Dan Hurley makes perfect sense for them.
Sure.
And Dan Hurley, his decision to return to UConn makes perfect sense logically, too, because he's on the brink of three-peating, which hasn't happened since John Wooden. So the obvious explanation, or the more clear explanation, also makes as much sense as your a little bit more complicated layered explanation.
Okay, that if you want to take that for face value, yes, it could have gone down that way. Of course, we're talking about Dan Hurley's returning to UConn, not going to the Lakers. My question is then, why did he actually turn down the Lakers? If you're that intrigued by the offer, what do you think ultimately swayed him to go back to UConn in this scenario that you painted?
First of all, I mean, me and many other people are like, wait, that's how much money the Lakers offered? 6 years, $70 million? What? For the two-time defending champion in college basketball, they're not going to make him the highest paid coach in the NBA or up there? So he's sixth highest. But, I mean, not to be that guy, but there's huge tax implications. I saw Darren Rovell tweeted, he goes from $4.5 million gross in Connecticut to $6 million in Lakers. Everyone thought they were going to blow him away, triple his salary. $100 million had been thrown out. 6 years, $70 million? Like, that's sixth highest in the NBA, and after taxes, that's like 10th or 11th. Like, that is not the blowaway offer we all expected. This is the Lakers. We thought that there was going to be something that was just stunning. And 6 years, $70 million. It's like, you're paying like half of Rui Hachimura's contract for Dan Hurley. This is
the
not.
Players always make more.
Like, I mean, that is not that hard of a decision to go to a team that is not great. They won 47 games last year, came into the play-in tournament as a 7 seed. It's just not an ideal situation. Like, there's a lot of, you would have had to blow him away to get him out of UConn. Obviously, you had to blow, just like knock his socks off to get him away from a team where he's winning. You can't just sort of say, okay, here's a medium deal.
He's never coached in the NBA before.
Oh my God, that
if you can't make $70 million work, I don't care about the gross and all this stuff. That's insulting to people because he still would be getting a massive raise on top of what he was making, right? And here's the thing: it's also could be looked at. I know this is going to be foreign to people. It also could be looked at as a privilege to coach the Lakers. I'm not saying you have to take less, but you've never done this before, Perloff.
What are you talking about? It's a basketball. Roll it out and play basketball.
Yeah, because that's worked so well for the other Laker coaches who have all been shown the door after 3 years.
What do you mean he's never done this before?
He's
that's
never
ridiculous.
Coached on the pro level before.
So what? It's still the same rules. It's not college football where it's even different rules. It's the same rules.
Well, it's literally not the same rules, but if you want to, it's not the same type of player. It's not the same power dynamic. And we know that there's a difference between college and pro because there's basically been two people who've actually been successful at doing this, which is Brad Stevens and Billy Donovan. They still didn't win anything, but they have been successful at this, and tons of other guys have failed. To immediately say you have to make Dan Hurley the top of the market, I think it's silly. I don't think the Lakers had to do that. I think you can move.
They clearly did.
Well, but here's the thing. I don't know if Dan Hurley actually ever wanted this job. See, that's where I'm at. I think $70 million is more than enough to turn somebody's head to make it enticing to go to California. And even if you say it's $6 million, you can't get by on $6 million. His kids are already out of school. It's not like you're starting with $50,000 kindergarten and you have got to go from there. He should be able to live comfortably. And if he's already somebody who's comparing his salary to who? Steve Kerr and Greg Popovich, then you've got the wrong guy anyway. And I don't think Dan Hurley's that kind of dude. I really don't. I'm not saying it's not about the money. He's obviously going to get a big raise from UConn. But I don't think that he was looking around saying, gosh, if I'm not paid as much as Monty Williams, I'm out of here. Like, that's ridiculous.
Out of here. He never did. Yeah, but clearly it wasn't.
I'm not taking the job.
I mean, now I'm going to be the one with conspiracy. Like, it clearly was not enough money. That's a fact. I mean, if they come in with $110 million like we kind of expected, then I think he's the Lakers coach. Like, if they had blown him out the door with their offer, but they just didn't because for some reason they're one of the cheapest head coaching teams in the league. I don't understand. They're the Lakers. Why couldn't they just make him an offer he couldn't refuse?
Well, I think if I'm going to think about the Lakers side of this for a second, I think that you're probably looking at it and saying, why do I have to reset the market for somebody who's never coached in the NBA before? I'm already paying other coaches, which is their fault because they keep firing coaches. And I think they probably realize coaching in the NBA, you never really know how it's going to go. And so to give him a fully guaranteed contract for $100 million before you have ever really worked with the guy before. And he's known to have a very unique personality. You're not bringing in somebody who's like a Labrador retriever here. You're bringing in a real pit bull. And so I can understand not wanting to go so far. To me, this all just felt like a work. It did feel like we were kind of getting sold something that Dan Hurley kind of emerged out of nowhere. We were told he was the front runner, or that they'd been targeting him. I'm sorry. Just days after we had gotten a report that said the Lakers were actually zeroing in on J.J. Redick, then the tables completely turned to a candidate that is completely different, right? Like a totally 180 from J.J. Redick and Dan Hurley. You can't get two more opposite people in terms of one guy's to win now, probably, and the other guy's to win now and also build a culture. It's just all felt very overwhelming and just felt like we were just getting pushed something by Woj. And I think we were. And I think what we were being pushed was, maybe Dan Hurley did want to hear the Lakers out and he had plenty of nice things to say about them after the fact. But Woj held out a very key piece of information, the fact that Dan Hurley was undergoing in a contract negotiation with UConn. That felt like being withheld. That information being withheld, it felt. Because wouldn't it have changed your mind if it looked a little bit more A to B? Hey, he's in a contract negotiation with one party, and now all of a sudden he's really interested in another thing and could play the two off of each other.
I mean, we all knew.
I don't have to be a conspiracy theorist for that one. We just didn't have the info.
We didn't need the info. We all knew he was going to get more money out of UConn out of this thing.
Well, we weren't sure if UConn was going to keep going up and up and up, right?
Up and up, and there was 6 years, $32 million. I think we all saw that. Like, wait, what?
Well, we said bad job out of UConn because you have this low buyout, and why have you not given him an extension? Yeah. We never said, wow, when are they going to come back to the table with?
Well, but you were actually. I just assumed that for you, that's a given that they were going to. This was all negotiation. But yeah, I just don't think I understand what you're saying about being played, and it's interesting. You very well could be right, but I do think the Lakers really wanted him, and I think they didn't make a big enough offer. And Hurley said, like, you really got to blow me. I mean, to get someone to leave, you got to just really jump up in huge money, and that's what I think you're underestimating. Like what you really need to do to get him out of a very comfortable place. So to go to, you're saying it's a privilege to coach the Lakers? Why? I mean, it's a privilege. It's actually one of the worst jobs in the sense if you don't win at a high level immediately, you're going to get fired in 2 years.
With all this money, like it doesn't.
But not that much money. I mean, honestly, if you get fired 2 years, I don't know. Like it's just like I was genuinely surprised. 6 years, $70 million. It reminded me of this old Saturday Night Live skit where there's this character playing James Bond, but it's James Bond on a budget.
Oh,
he's like, darling, it's time to whisk you away to sunny Orlando instead of Rio de Janeiro. It's like the Lakers are making this huge offer, and it turns out 6 years, $70 million. It's like, wait, what? Is this the Cavs? What is going on here? I was actually really surprised. It was not an offer he couldn't refuse. I mean, John Gruden could get 10 years, $100 million, like 15 years ago, or whatever that was, or no, 5 years ago. So, and they can't make Danny Hurley at least close to the highest paid coach. I was really surprised, and I'm actually not surprised he said no because it was. I think if you actually weigh the offer, and you and I disagree about one more thing, I do think he wanted to stay on the East Coast. I think his family's on the East Coast. It's a pain to fly. I mean, he's gonna have grandkids at some point soon to fly from L.A. to Connecticut or New Jersey or wherever his family is. I think that was a factor, and I think his wife didn't want to leave the East Coast. So I get it. Unless the money was so crazy that you couldn't turn it down, I think that this decision made a lot of sense from Dan Hurley's point of view. But I think the Lakers have no idea what they're doing in this coach. I think that's obvious.
Yeah, the whole East Coast thing and not wanting to relocate, I guess, again, I go back to the framing of these reports. And that's why I feel like we were sold something here. Because we know where the Lakers reside and we know where UConn is. These two geographic locations are not changing. So why would we get reports that say he's interested, he's intrigued, he wants to hear about it if it was always going to be a no-go to go to the West Coast? Like, if you don't want to move there, unless you're trying to do something, which is, I think, get more money from UConn, why even entertain it? You know, why even, LA's far away. You understand all those things. You've worked that out in your head. And so why do it unless there was another reason, there was another motivation?
I'll tell you right now, I'll bet you next summer somebody comes along with a lot more money and he takes it.
What job?
I mean, who knows? You never know what jobs. So how many jobs were this year? 5 or 6? You have no idea who's going to struggle. Somebody's going to get kicked out, and I'll bet you he takes another job. But it's going to be twice that money.
But okay, and that's fine. But number one, you might be in a terrible situation. And number two...
But he'll have his choice of any of the jobs, so he could pick the best one.
Okay, and that's another thing, too, where you're going to be now on this mission for a three-peat, which, by the way, if you're asking me if I think UConn's more likely to three-peat or more likely to not three-peat, then I'm going to say no all the time. That doesn't mean it shouldn't pursue it, but that's going to be almost impossible to do. And... why has nobody done it since John Wooden? I mean, it's not like there haven't been good college teams out there.
I just think that I'm just going back to the Big East tournament and last year's NCAA tournament. I have trouble betting against UConn. They're certainly in the mix. Let's put it this way.
They're fine in the mix, but with the type of one and done tournament,
they're sort of sharing the number one spot with Kansas. So it's a much better chance for him to win a title in UConn than the LA Lakers this year. Much better.
Well, that's fine, but it's also you had to know all this. Yeah. Like, none of this is news, you know? Like, you understand if you're Dan Hurley, and this is, again, why I don't think he ever really wanted this job. You know what this job is, right? You get what's happening here. And the framing of the article was this is perfect for him. LeBron James, who thinks he's a genius, and then Bronny and the younger guys, and everybody's going to benefit from this. Like, it just, all this stuff we knew. And yet, you really think it's because they wouldn't up the offer a couple $1 million? That's what it was? I just can't believe that.
So you think Dan Hurley, just to get more money out of UConn,
yes,
flew to L.A. and did a 3-day? Okay,
yeah, definitely. And he wasn't even there for a couple days. Apparently, he flew out on Thursday, met with them on Friday, and was back at Madison Square Garden to watch Billy Joel. Pete, you would have loved this. He was back to watch Billy Joel on Saturday.
All right.
That's interesting. Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's the whole thing, like, gosh, how can I get some more money from my employer? I'm going to go out to L.A. and meet with Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka. I just think that I don't think it's that cut and dry. I think if they had made him an offer he couldn't refuse, he probably would have taken it. But maybe you're right. Maybe this was all just a ploy. Dan Hurley was sitting around saying, like, how do we get more money out of UConn? Hey, let's call Woj and see if we can get in on this Lakers mess.
Well, I just think that, you know, dangling the Cavaliers out there, job being open doesn't do the same thing, right? And I think that the Lakers, to go back to the original point, which is the Lakers, I think, look pretty bad today, not because of the contract they offered. That I don't think that's why they look bad. I think they look bad because it looks like they got used. And now it doesn't seem like they have a very obvious second candidate unless J.J. Redick is that guy, and we can talk about who should take over for the Lakers now that Dan Hurley has said no. But I think they saw the Lakers, and the Lakers are, like, they set themselves up for this, you know, because they're so star-driven, not Darvin Ham, obviously, but in their last coach, but, like, it's so easy to turn their heads because they're always looking and will gravitate towards the star, whether it's a player, whether it's a coach, whatever. I think the Lakers have this star savior complex thing that's always been a part of the brand. And it was easy, I think, to use the Lakers for the purposes that Dan Hurley wanted because they allowed themselves to be used, quite frankly.
Well, how come their coaches are always so lame then?
Well, Phil Jackson wasn't lame.
Yeah, okay, who else?
Well, Ty Lue turned them down, right? They end up going with Frank Vogel. They win a title with Frank Vogel, and then they turned on him. And then I don't know where Darvin Ham came out of.
Because they're cheap. I mean, they I don't know. And J.J. Redick, it's not like they're getting the top of the market guy there either. I hope they're not paying J.J. Redick anything. Okay, you're consistent with this logic that there was never any interest for Dan Hurley in the Lakers. This was all a ploy with Connecticut.
I think that's where I'm landing on this because, again, we're getting new information that's coming out that would have really changed the shade of the story had we known about it last week.
I don't even think that's even worth adding to the story. I mean, in the sense before, like, yeah, of course he's going to bilk more money out of UConn. This is college coaching. What they do.
No, but if you thought that he really wanted the Laker job, then UConn wouldn't have been able to offer anything that would have been close. And turns out that's not true.
I really think he considered the Lakers job.
For how long? An hour?
2 days.
855-212-4227. Remember, he was the one who was targeted from the beginning, we were told.
Why do you think? Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, honestly, I think you're ascribing a lot of business conniving to Dan Hurley's team. I just don't think that like they came up with a bullet point plan. How are we going to get more money out of UConn? Do the Lakers and then sort of go out there and leave them hanging for 3 days? I don't know. That seems like a lot of work. To get $1 million more a year to live in Storrs, Connecticut, I do not think that that's exactly how it works out.
Well, we don't know what he's going to get yet.
I mean, whatever. It
the
doesn't
governor
even really
said
matter.
they're going to make him the highest paid college coach. So he's going to get a significant raise here.
I mean, yeah, it all works out for Dan Hurley. That being said, like, it would not. I think everyone agrees, like, ooh, that Lakers job would have been a tough spot. That would have been a really
and it
hard
remains
place,
a tough spot,
especially for him because he's such a firebrand and a college coach. To get in there with this aging roster and LeBron and really no way out with this roster, it would have been a tough spot for money that is not even that great. That also that money, like, they could fire him and not even really care. Because what's the difference? In 2 years, if he's not winning, he's 6 now, an NBA coach. He'd be 20th by the time they're 3 years into this contract, so they could just cut it. It's just the whole thing was not great.
What do you think was really going on? 855-212-4227. You're a sports fan. You've been following along with this story about Dan Hurley kind of emerges out of nowhere, really interested in the Laker job, maybe, ends up going out there, looked like they were targeting him, goes out there, says no thanks. Do you think this was about the money? 6 years, $70 million, not enough to bring Hurley to LA? Do you think something else was at play? 855-212-4227. It was pretty stunning yesterday. Not gonna lie. I thought he was going. I did.
Should have went.
But do you think he'll regret it?
Yes.
Ugh, no way.
It's the Lakers.
And?
One of the marquee franchises in the NBA.
They have
I don't know what you're getting.
They have no idea what they're doing right now.
Yeah, well, it's his opportunity to make them
That's
understand.
True. That's true.
Yeah, if you feel like you can actually put your stamp on it.
He ran away from a challenge.
Which is not really seem like the type of guy to do that.
No, he took down college basketball last year easily.
Yeah.
He didn't need to do it again.
Well, he could. Why not just coach the NBA next year at a better spot?
Find a better spot.
Coach Wemby.
Well,
get a young star.
I don't think Popovich is going anywhere.
There's got to be something better than this Lakers roster, right?
Well, but here's the thing: like coaches do get fired a lot in the NBA, but generally it's not great opportunities where the people are getting fired. Like, no one's firing Joe Mazzulla. You're not going to walk in and be the next Celtics head coach.
But
Jason Kidd's not getting fired. Steve Kerr's not getting fired.
I mean, how did Steve Kerr landed in that Golden State? Like, you have to be smart about this. Steve Kerr landed in Golden State. Phil Jackson got the Lakers job. Like, you got to pick the right spot. I think that's important.
He might sit on Celtics.
Yeah, well,
Mazzulla's about to win a title.
Yeah, but it's Mazzulla, and he's had his questions, and he might sit on that one.
A lot of people thinking Knicks. Yeah, but did they extend Thibodeau? Yeah, I think they just did, right?
Thibodeau's like the king of the city right now, and also, you think it's tough working for the Lakers? Go work for the Knicks. See how many people made it out of that job in a better spot than when they came in.
That being said, Dan Hurley in the Knicks feels like, a hand in a glove. That's going to happen at some point. We all know that.
855-212-4227. All right. Do you think Dan Hurley is going to regret turning down the Lakers? And what do you think's going on here? Because I'm not taking this all at face value. 855-212-4227. So much to do here. We've got more coaching news for you. A surprise contract extension. We weren't expecting this one yesterday, Pearl, but we'll get that to you in just a moment. It comes from the NFL. It's Maggie Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Okay, so Maggie and I sort of disagree on the genesis of the Dan Hurley negotiation. I think the Lakers really wanted him. He was intrigued for obvious reasons. You know, it's the purple and gold, LeBron James. Ultimately, I think the money was not overwhelming, and the chance to win a third title. I mean, he's in great position to win a third title, obviously. Yeah, they're tied for Kansas, the number one team. They have guys coming back, and he seems to just have figured out college basketball. I mean, that tournament run was crazy. So we agreed the Lakers got played here one way or other.
Yeah, we do agree on that.
So where does this leave this, sort of famous franchise? I think it leaves them as a mess. It looks like they don't know what they're doing. I think that they got to call whoever came out with the Hurleys, like they got to call that agent and say, who's Hurley's agent? I think we talked about this at some point. Anyway, like somebody's got to pay for this on the Lakers side. Like, dude, what are you doing? You came out here, you said you were interested, and then you played us for 4 days. Like they had to do Monday at 1:45. You won our bet, by the way, about when it would be. I think you said 1:15.
Yeah, 1:12. Yep.
And then Woj broke the news. Like, the Lakers look like they have no idea what they're doing. And I think it's kind of a mixed job because LeBron is 40, hasn't even opted in. The rest of the roster, they got a healthy Anthony Davis and LeBron last year and only won 47 games. I don't think Donovan Mitchell's going there. That's the only star that can really add anything. If they get Trae Young, they're marginally worse, in my opinion. So I don't even know, like, where that job is going. But I'll tell you one thing. I don't think they have a consistent plan at head coach. I mean, it's hard to argue with that.
Yeah, no, I think your logic is sound on that one. I think they're scrambling now.
I think they were scrambling a week ago.
They probably were. I mean, it felt like an odd kind of search, like there wasn't a slam dunk hire, and then here comes Dan Hurley, just like out of like a mirage, and here he comes walking out of the desert, and he's going to take over the team. And then it turns out, well, that's not going to happen because he's going to go back to UConn. Where you and I don't see this the same. We could talk about LeBron James's future now. where the Lakers turn for head coach. There's so many things that are on the table now because of this decision. Where you and I just disagree is I feel like we were getting worked here from the beginning. I do think that this was about Dan Hurley getting more money from UConn because that three-peat, that was on the table the moment they cut down the nets. Nothing changed about the Lakers being in LA. The Lakers did offer him a lot of money. I know it's not like enough, I guess, for some people, but $70 million should be enough for a first-time NBA head coach who has not won a title in the NBA. That should be enough money if you really want the job to satisfy you. And it's only your first contract. If you really think that you're going to be great at this and if you think you have a future, then you don't turn your nose up at $70 million. You think about, oh, my next contract's going to be $100 million. You're just thinking about the future, not, oh my gosh, I'm only going to, after taxes, going to net $6 million, which Pine Needle says gets you, a 2-bedroom apartment and a membership at a municipal golf course.
Well, the problem was there was a $100 million offer reported. So when it came out yesterday, it was 6 years, $70 million. Maybe everybody's expectations got screwed up.
On invitation. I think that Dan Hurley never really wanted this job.
So why did they offer him more money if they don't think he was going to take it? Like, why not at least go 8 years, 110?
Well, because now you don't want to set the precedent for the next guy. So whoever you do hire the floor is probably going to be $70 million in 6 years, because why wouldn't that person get the same contract as Dan Hurley or near it?
Does that person have 2 national titles under his belt? No way. No, if they go with James Borrego and they offer him 6 years, $70 million, then they're going to look like a laughingstock. Obviously Dan Hurley is 10 times the candidate he is.
He is, but you don't want to go so high that all of a sudden your next candidate is insulted by the offer as well. You know what I'm saying? Like if JJ Redick says, I played 15 years in the NBA, isn't that worth something? Clearly you want me as the coach. It would hurt their negotiating stance to blow them way out of the water with $100 million.
Wait, this is a new one. Okay, so they were modest in their proposal to Danny Hurley because they were worried he'd say no and they didn't want a too high of a level for their next coach.
No, I think maybe they thought $70 million might actually get Hurley.
Well, they were wrong.
I don't think he turned down the job because of money. I don't think he ever wanted the job. Let's go to the phones. John is in Connecticut, has a thought on the Laker job. Good morning, John. You guys got to be happy in Connecticut today.
Yeah, although I am a long-time Lakers fan, I look, why not hear what somebody has to offer you? It certainly, if it's going to be a significant amount of money, which it turned out for whatever reason, it wasn't in Hurley's eyes. But that's a tough job. It's an aging roster. They've had a revolving door of coaches, and I think that when you get let go from the Lakers, you're tainted. You're just another guy who couldn't make it in Los Angeles with that team. And if he wants to have a future career in the NBA, you don't need that on your resume as having failed in L.A. I think he was smart to not take the job. I think it's an unwinnable job right now. And the brain trust of the Lakers has fallen far behind their competition out there.
Yeah, John, I'll agree with you on that. They definitely don't look like the sharpest bunch because, if you put all your eggs in the Hurley basket, if that's really what they were doing, and then either didn't know that he still wanted to be, that he was going to be swayed back to college, or wouldn't go the distance to get him and a couple more million here or there, then you do look silly. And they look like they got used.
It's a little more than that. So there were multiple big time reports that it was going to be $100 million, $70 million. That's a $30 million difference. I guess Danny Hurley doesn't make that much money. So I thought these numbers were way bigger because the NBA salaries are so gigantic. They really couldn't come in over 6 years, $70 million. I'm still very surprised. You seem like that was the right offer.
That part of the story is not the thing that hangs me up. To 6
years
and $70 million. That's not the part of it that I think. I find that hard to believe that was the deal breaker. For Danny Hurley, who owns one suit and famously paints himself as the blue collar guy. I
don't know. I just think that money, obviously, it's just not. It's not that big a jump. And the other thing, I was shocked that he only made 6 years, $32 million at UConn. Shocked. What's that about? Explain to me the genesis. Like, I mean, Andrew Bogusch is in the room. What is that's like Fordham pay, not UConn pay.
It's not Fordham pay.
I just don't understand. Like, that is a number this dude makes. Like, what is going on with the coaching circles? Like, NBA and college got to get things in order here if that's what you're paying guys, because that's ridiculous.
I think it just goes to show you kind of where college basketball might be right now because, the college football coaches get everything. And, Jimbo Fisher had a $70 million buyout.
But I've seen the NCAA tournament numbers and what they're making in billions on that. They should get him more money. I'm not saying they obviously will.
The governor is going to do that now. And why is he going to do that? Because the coach threatened to go coach the Lakers.
I mean, 6 years, $32 million, that's what, like the fourth highest NIL deal on his team right now? I'm just kidding. But that is NIL money. That's not that crazy different. I think their quarterbacks are making more per year in college football than he is probably.
Again, and I think it goes to show you where college basketball is compared to college football. It's not on the same level.
That's why.
What do you think? What do you think really happened here?
But that's why I think the Lakers could have swooped in and blown him away with a financial offer.
Yeah, I think I'm going to end up closer to Maggie on this than to Perloff. I think that both of them would have said yes in the right situations, but almost feels like both of them wanted the other side to say no. Like, Hurley went there thinking he was going to stay at UConn, but here's a number that I'm not going to turn down to go to the Lakers. And he never got that number. And the Lakers on the flip side maybe put a number out there that they knew he had to say no to, so it looked like they did their due diligence.
You don't think the Lakers wanted him?
I think the I wanted him with, I don't believe, I think it came from John Fanta on these airways. I think John was wrong about $100 million. And other people said it was never $100 million. Like Jeff Goodman said, it was never $100 million. So we should probably.
Woj only said long and lucrative. He never said what the number
was. And 6 and 70 probably does fall into long and lucrative based on what the Lakers had been paying people. I'm actually stunned in general that we've had two completely different competing stories about this search. Like Shams and The Athletic. I mean, even yesterday, the Woj story said the Lakers will now, for the first time, formally interview JJ Redick. It's like there's two different things. There's so much water being carried by these two guys right now. First, from, I guess, the Laker perspective, and then basically Woj ghostwriting for Dan Hurley, or Dan Hurley ghostwriting for Woj. It's crazy to me.
You're right. The reporting here is all over the map, and it just feels like favor after favor. Yep. I said it. I felt like we were all getting worked, and that Woj report before game one of the NBA Finals, I just remember feeling like, what was that? How many favors just got done in that 90-second report?
And it's like also telling on yourself that you're not doing your job correctly. Like when he first said, for the first time ever, that Hurley has been at the forefront of this search from the beginning.
Right.
You should have known that, and you didn't tell us that. And then I think the fact that he just sneaks in yesterday, he's already talked to UConn about a new deal. That's a big thing.
This is
that
stuff
you
we
should have told us last week.
Yes, this is news we could have used last Thursday.
That's a huge factor in all of this.
So let me just I just want to make sure we're clear about one thing. So the Lakers just wanted to put out an offer to save face, being like, we're going after the top guys. And that was their goal. And a part of their goal in this was say, hey, due diligence. We made a good offer to the best college coach, so you can't blame us when we hire James Borrego.
Well,
because if that's the case, that backfired because they look like a joke.
Yeah, they did look bad.
They look bad, but maybe they got the sense that he was not really into it. So when it came to time to put things on the table,
Dan Hurley's a recruiter. Don't you think it's more likely that he went there and he had them convinced that he was really interested?
I mean, I would really hope that they're not that dumb. Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss.
You're telling me
they're dumb.
So you think Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka sat there, interviewed him, and he walked away of this quote unquote, he said it was a remarkable meeting. They thought, well, he's probably just using us for UConn. You don't think they thought they had a great chance of hiring him?
Well, don't you think it was weird that the report came out along a lucrative contract they were prepared to offer before they'd ever met the guy in person?
No, I don't think that's weird at all because he had just won 2 national titles in college basketball.
But college doesn't mean you're going to be successful to pros, and he's a unique personality. Of all the people you should do this anytime you're hiring someone, especially for a big job. But you've got LeBron James hangs in the balance. Future, are you going to draft Bronny? All these things on the table. You're trying to be competitive in the Western Conference, and you would hire the guy sight unseen?
But you say the guy. I mean, he's obviously, is he the number one coach in college basketball? And is there anyone even close?
I think Bill Self,
Bill Self. Oh, my God. Really? Bill Self from Kansas? That Bill Self? You think he's a better coach than Danny Hurley?
I'm just saying, you're asking me who are the great coaches in college basketball, and I think Bill Self, and I think Mark Few, and I think there are other guys who are great coaches.
I disagree with that. I think it's Danny Hurley right now on a cliff.
Scott Drew is a great coach.
It's not the gap is not that big. It's just not. The last few years have been remarkable.
It seemed like Kentucky really wanted him.
Yeah, they should.
And he turned him down on the spot.
So he's the number one college coach.
He turned him down during the Final Four, I think.
And think about it, if it was college football. Like, I know Kirby Smart isn't exactly Mr. Personality, but you would have had to offer him a pretty big deal to get him to leave Georgia after 2 titles to go to the NFL.
And it's not a slam dunk that he would have been good.
Well, maybe not, but at least he would have had to be one of the top 3 highest paid coaches.
Look at Urban Meyer. I mean, who thought that was going to fail so spectacularly? And it blew up in the most embarrassing way possible. It's not just hey, you're great in one sport, you're going to be great in the other. We know that.
Yeah, but Urban Meyer already he was not the number one coach of college when they got him. He was sort of already out of the sport because he burned himself out.
No, he was out of the, no.
He was already psychotic at that point. Like, he'd already had to leave everything.
Yeah, well, he was psychotic, and that's always seen as like you're doing your job well. If you're basically having a stroke on the sideline is what we expect from college football coaches. It's ridiculous. He got in trouble because one of his assistant coaches had a domestic dispute, and he may have known about it and didn't report it.
You think that's why he burned out, just because of that?
No, I think he tends to burn out. He did it at Florida too.
And you cannot pretend that the Jaguars were doing him a favor by hiring him. He was Urban freaking Meyer.
Urban Meyer was not where Danny Hurley was. Like, it was like, ooh, they got Urban Meyer. That was not the case at that point. Urban Meyer was like,
what world did you live in?
Urban Meyer was like not the super hot candidate by any means. Like,
everybody on the planet wanted Urban Meyer.
He just beat Michigan 8 years in a row, hadn't he?
Wait. What year did they hire him?
Urban Meyer was linked to every prominent, is he going to take the Notre Dame job? He was all over the place. He got the job because he was Urban Meyer. He was not down and out. And Shad Khan came in and was like, "Hey, buddy, I heard you used to be good at college football."
I felt like when the Jags hired him, oh, that's kind of weird. That's what I thought.
It was weird because I thought he was going to he was going to be a maniac.
I thought he was going to retire. I thought he was kind of retired.
But he was still Urban Meyer.
I mean, he'd already left for the, didn't he who did he work for in broadcast? Like, he was already flirting with broadcast. It seemed like he'd already kind of burned out to a large degree. It wasn't like anyone thought.
Yeah, but he burned out in Florida, and then he came to Ohio State and won.
Right, right. But
the burnout was temporary.
Right, but Danny Hurley's coming off 2 national titles. Urban Meyer was not. Do you think there were 32 teams who were going to offer Urban Meyer a job? No way. I think everybody wants Danny Hurley.
It would have been way more than one for football. I don't think that Urban Meyer was as burned out as you're remembering here. I mean, he was definitely beating Michigan soundly.
So what? Yeah,
to the point where Michigan had to start a sign stealing scandal. Well, we're just talking about history, but
I mean, listen. I think you guys are underestimating where Danny Hurley is in the sport right now.
No.
Do you think he's kind of in the same category with Bill Self and Mark Few? And I just think it's different. I think he outcoached the entire country the last 2 years.
Yes, the last 2 years have been fantastic, but guys have been doing it in general, winning and successful longer than he has. I think Bill Self's already in the Hall of Fame.
And the other part, too, there's definitely been a changing of the guard a bit in college basketball. So Danny Hurley right now is going up against the Matt Painters and guys like that who are coaches but don't have this great winning pedigree. And he doesn't have to deal with Coach K. And he doesn't have to deal with Jim Boeheim. And he doesn't have to deal with Roy Williams. And he doesn't have to deal with Jay Wright. And there have been a lot of coaches who have recently left the sport. So he might be, I'm not saying he's not a great coach, and I'm not saying he didn't have a great team, but he also came along at a time where maybe this was perfect for him to have this 2-year run of dominance. So,
or he's pioneering a new era of coaches. So he doesn't have to live up to Coach K and Boeheim. He's making a new trend for passionate, energetic, personable coaches that maybe the Lakers see that could be the future in the NBA also.
Maybe. But they clearly, I can see why they were interested. I don't know if Hurley was ever really interested. And, everyone, we've had some callers point out, the Laker job, while glamorous, was definitely not without its pitfalls, right? And I think Hurley would have had to understand that before he got on that plane. So, how appealing is it? Nothing he was going to do flying between Connecticut and L.A. was going to change the fact that LeBron James is on the team, or Anthony Davis, or that they're going to draft Bronny, or that they have this roster. None of that. He knows this. He's in the profession. So, again, was he ever actually serious about wanting the job? All right, we've used all that time. Bog, will you stick around for headlines after this?
Sure.
Because we need to figure out what was going on in hockey last night. Caitlin Clark was on the court. So much to do. It's Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
We are in the deepest, darkest corners of the NBA and college basketball to try to figure out what the heck happened here with Dan Hurley. Why is he not the Lakers head coach? Is it just money? Is it just the team? Something in between? Meanwhile, he goes back to Connecticut. He's going to get a new contract. The governor of Connecticut said so yesterday. So that's cool. And the Lakers search continues.
I think I'm right about all this.
But hold on to your thought for 1 second, because Andrew Bogusch has stuck around kindly into this segment so we can get some headlines in this show. What's going on?
All those headlines sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Protect your home and auto. Save when you bundle. Get a quote at progressive.com. So just to recap, UConn kept its coach. The Lakers still don't have one, but the guy they're replacing does. Darvin Ham returning to Milwaukee to be Doc Rivers' top assistant. Ham worked with the Bucks for 4 seasons, including their 2021 title, before leaving for LA. So here's the good news. The voice of Indiana Fever head coach Christy Sides is getting better. The bad news, her team is not getting better. 89-72 losers at the Connecticut Sun last night, dropping to 3-10. It was never close, so the head coach was not happy post-game.
We were just trying to ask them to keep playing hard, play hard. You can't start there. You can't play in this league if that's what, if you have to coach ever. It's just too hard.
Ruh-roh. Caitlin Clark scored just 10 points, 3 of 8 shooting, only played 22 minutes, sitting the entire fourth quarter as fans in Connecticut chanted for her to get back into the game. There is some good news for Caitlin. The Athletic says Clark and Sun forward Brianna Jones are the top alternates for the Olympic team this summer. The Florida Panthers taking a 2-0 lead in the Stanley Cup Final with a 4-1 win over the Oilers in Sunrise, Florida. 2 of those goals from Evan Rodriguez. Game 3 is in Edmonton on Thursday night. The Carolina Panthers will work out UFL Offensive Player of the Year Hakeem Butler soon. Butler just caught 45 balls for a league-high 652 yards for everybody's favorite, the St. Louis Battlehawks. Guys, back to you.
So wait, if Caitlin Clark makes the Olympic team, what happens to all the Caitlin Clark didn't make the Olympic team takes? Do they just...
Well, she still didn't make it originally, so I think those points do still stand.
Okay. Or then is there another set of takes like, oh my God, they shouldn't put her on that team because she didn't deserve it? Like, do we start the whole cycle again?
Well, that's the crazy thing. If she's the first alternate, what happened to all the she didn't deserve it people? Because if she didn't deserve it, then I'm sure there's got to be somebody else who has played longer, who has more of a resume in the WNBA,
right,
like Skylar Diggins or something like that, who would be there first if this was purely a merit thing.
Right. So then they should come out and write op-eds saying that she doesn't deserve this. Well, I think we will get a set of those takes. No?
Do we get to do this all over again?
Oh, yeah,
in the
absolutely.
reverse?
It doesn't do anything to dispel the type of the idea that I know this was a committee that was made up of a lot of different people, but the idea that it was to I don't say knock her down a peg, but to not give her stuff. Making her an alternate doesn't do anything to quiet the people who believe everyone else is jealous of her or that the veterans don't want her on the team. Would you agree with that?
Well, no, I do think it softens it a little bit, though. So, if they make her an alternate, it's a perfect solution for both sides. So they don't put her on the original team, so the veterans are cool, but she does get to the Olympics, and everybody gets see Caitlin Clark in Paris. So it feels like it's a win-win, no?
I don't know, because, again, what happened to the merit conversation? There has to be someone else who you would think would have, if you're just going on merit, would have more right to that spot if that's what we're going off of. And that's why this was always felt silly.
But I thought yesterday you were throwing out stats about her 3-pointers made or assists. So merit, she's close.
Right, but you're telling me if it's about people who have done more for Team USA or have been in the WNBA longer, if that's what we're going off of, then her stats would have never mattered, right? This is about seniority, and this is about waiting your turn and all of that, and not being handed something.
Yeah, that's why I feel like U.S. women's basketball found a middle road where they can make everybody happy by making her first alternate. Then she'll be there in Paris. And then, I don't know. Then we'll have to sort of reconvene and come up with a whole new set of Caitlin Clark takes.
The one thing about it is it doesn't help for the people who thought, oh, this month off is going to be great for her, right? If she ends up making the team, then she's going to have to go through the rigors of being on the Olympic team. She's going to get no break. And I know there were some people, you and I don't think we're two of those people. There were some people who were very concerned about whether she would get like a mental break.
Yeah,
and physical.
that's true. Olympic basketball has helped a lot of young players. Like I remember Grant Hill exploded after he was on an Olympic team. Like you're going to play basketball. It's not the worst thing for your basketball game to be out there with the best players in the world. So I think she can make that work as well.
Yeah, I always thought it was weird to tell a professional athlete what they should do with their body, you know?
Yeah, I mean, she's going to get a lot of basketball in it. I think that this is going to end up working out.
We'll see if she actually makes the team. 855-212-4227. All right, we need to figure out who is going to coach the LA Lakers. It's not going to be Dan Hurley. Where do the purple and gold go next? Maggie Perloff on Infinity Sportsnet.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Where do the LA Lakers go from here? Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. It was stunning news yesterday, Pearl, although you kind of called it. You thought maybe Dan Hurley would spur the Los Angeles Lakers to go back to UConn. That's exactly what happened. He will remain in college basketball, so that leaves this sort of big gaping hole here for Los Angeles, and they still have a head coach to hire. They still have LeBron James with a big decision to make about whether he's going to opt into $50 million contract for this year or whether he would opt out. There's the draft is coming up. Free agency is coming up. Will they actually take Bronny James? Are they going to go star hunting? Are they just going to try to do small things to upgrade the current roster? It is a just quagmire of questions and different paths that the Lakers could take. And maybe the most important question, LeBron James and the head coach are still TBD.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have that much to spend on their head coach either. They got to sort of bargain.
Apparently, they're bargain shopping.
So they offered
TJ Maxx shopping for a head coach.
They offered Dan Hurley 6 years, $70 million. So they have some first-round picks. You know who has a great column on this is our buddy Bill Ryder, who comes on after us on Infinity Sports Network. Just he had a good point. If you're looking at J.J. Redick on one hand, a guy who's never coached at any level and is in the booth, and you're looking at Dan Hurley, a two-time college basketball champion, there's no common ground there. So your coach is basically, coaching search is scattershot. You just look like you have no idea what the plan is here. And there really is no indication that the Lakers have a plan. Like you said, look at LeBron is up in the air. Whether they're going to go after someone is up in the air, whether Bronny. It doesn't seem, because of this Dan Hurley situation, that they have a consistent, thought-through, analytical plan on how we're going to get back to a title. It feels like they're going moment by moment.
You know, you sometimes accuse me of being like a little bit of a conspiracy theorist, and I never really take things at face value, and I'm always wondering who's got the power and who's wielding it behind the scenes. The one part of this Dan Hurley thing that we haven't really touched on yet, because it happened after our show yesterday, is what's LeBron's role in all of this? Because, again, I will not take at face value LeBron not being involved in the coaching search. It just feels very naive to me to think that. And I would think that if LeBron really wanted Dan Hurley, does that sway the coach to say, listen, I want you. You know, I'm going to make this work. I will, whatever you need, I'll be the first lieutenant. Whatever he's going to say, I would have thought LeBron's, endorsement, if he was giving an endorsement, would have carried weight. And so the fact that Hurley has decided to go back to UConn, I question where LeBron is in all of this. Like, does LeBron actually want J.J. Redick, as people have theorized, because they are podcast partners? Is there another candidate that we're not even aware of yet? Because, again, I know you think that I'm always looking and lurking in the shadows here, but LeBron's not in the shadow. He's not in the corner. He's a massive figure at the center of this franchise, and we don't know which way he's leaning.
Well, I think you have an interesting point. What if LeBron had called Danny Hurley and said, I like the way you worded it. We're going to make this work. I'm really into this. Let's do this. I think that would be very influential. I got to tell you, if I'm Danny Hurley and LeBron calls me and says, we're going to make this work, that would sway me. That would sway me.
Yeah.
But I have a sense that he did not get directly involved in this, Maybe he wants like the Godfather. He wants to keep some distance, have his minions have his agent, Rich Paul, negotiate this. So I'm going to say, based on the result, that LeBron did not necessarily want or not want this to happen. Because if he had really wanted to happen, I think you're onto something. He might have been able to make it happen.
There's another part of this. We're talking about the Lakers get spurned by Dan Hurley yesterday. He goes back to UConn and how much the Lakers look embarrassed here, right? And it's not forever. They're not going to be embarrassed forever. They're going to find a coach, and it will either work or it won't work. But LeBron also looks bad here by extension, doesn't he? Because...
Nah, I don't know. I think like LeBron has, he can keep a little distance from this.
Yeah, and again, I don't buy that. So like if you're turning down the Lakers right now, yeah, it's not just LeBron, but that's a part of it. That's a coach saying no thanks to either the greatest or second greatest player in the history of the NBA, no matter when you get him in his career. Like there's something here, and I'm not exactly sure what, but I can't get off of this. Like, how is LeBron in any way influencing this coaching decision? And even if he's trying to be hands off, which I don't believe, but to say he is, how does that influence the coaching? Is that hurting the Lakers' ability to land a big time head coach? Because shouldn't they all feel a little more like all in this together, especially if the Lakers actually are going to draft Bronny? I mean, do you not owe them anything? I don't know. I would think that their star player would want to, be a little bit more involved on who's the coach who's going to potentially be coaching his son, let alone himself. And we don't have the answer to that.
No, I mean, again, I still don't understand the money thing. So LeBron he's making a decision whether he wants to opt in, right?
Yeah.
For 50?
50, yeah.
So, I mean, listen, the Lakers are the most valuable franchise in the NBA.
Yeah.
Why he has to call them, and if he really wanted Dan Hurley, say, why couldn't you make a bigger offer? Like, I don't understand. That's why I think there's a disconnect. I don't think LeBron is really pulling the strings here. It seems like an accountant in the Lakers front office is pulling the strings.
He's like, got a pencil behind his ear. He's just like, we can't make the budget this week.
Yeah, it's just they are the Lakers. Their offer should blow everybody out the door. And if they don't, then I wonder if LeBron is like, wow, maybe LeBron is considering not coming back to the Lakers. Is that possible?
Sometimes it's always the richest people who are oddly the cheapest. I don't think Jerry Jones is playing Mike McCarthy more than any other coach in the NFL. I know the Yankees aren't paying Aaron Boone more than any other manager. Sometimes it's the teams that you think who would have no excuse to spend are the ones who end up being the cheap ones.
Yeah, I mean, there is I was reading last night about how they really tried to shortchange Ty Lue. They lost him out, lowballed him crazy, half the offer that Ty Lue ended up. It doesn't make any sense. I was like, and Jim Harbaugh, will you give me that there's some analogy with Jim Harbaugh, who came from the defending champion Michigan Wolverines to the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, I understand Harbaugh had NFL experience, unlike Hurley. Big deal.
Majorly proven.
But he's making
Super Bowl.
He's making $16 million a year. He doubled his Michigan salary. So
Took a couple tries though. Harbaugh really had to find the right thing because he had been out there with the Minnesota Vikings and maybe the Raiders and maybe the Bears.
After the title, though, he was the hottest thing.
Yes.
Everybody wanted him after the title. You want him as the Bills coach, and rightly so.
100 times out of 100.
Yeah, but he did have that proven. He made a Super Bowl in the NFL. Big difference. But still, you should be able to really blow a college offer out of the water, especially college basketball. Those guys, just make it so ridiculous that he almost doesn't have a choice.
Okay, but I'll ask you this question. We're talking about Dan Hurley's going back to UConn. He's not taking the Laker job. We're unpacking this because the whole thing's a little weird. Jim Harbaugh comes in and he is the most powerful person in the organization now.
Right.
And Justin Herbert, I think, is totally willing to let Jim Harbaugh be the most powerful person because Brandon Staley was a joke, and this is important. The coach is never going to, when you're coaching LeBron James, you're never going to be the most important person, even if you're Dan Hurley.
Right.
Different power dynamic.
Totally different. Yeah. Justin Herbert's 26, right? He needs a coach like that. But I do think the smart team would look big picture here and be like, Danny, LeBron's 40. We need to coach everybody else too. I would hope that they're not making a decision only because of LeBron. If you're just getting LeBron's guy in, how many years is that going to be? How many years can he stay healthy and productive?
Well, that's
not
why
many more.
We were sold this is for now and for the future.
Yeah,
this is to win now and for the future.
It was the perfect fit because it was short-term and long-term, and they should have offered more.
Well, if you want some free advice, if you're the Lakers, I know where they should turn to now.
Who's that?
It's been out there a little bit. Mark Stein, most notably. I talked to another NBA scout yesterday who also reinforced this to me. Jay Wright. Pete, I know you'll love this. Jay Wright, who has been in broadcasting now for 2 years. Obviously, the former Villanova coach who's been a champion many times. And Jay Wright's 62. He's not old by coaching standards at all.
Not at all.
And I'm going to try to say this delicately here because I really like Jay Wright. He's been nice to me throughout my career. I think that he's a great coach. He hasn't really landed in the media landscape with like the explosion of like a Barkley or whatever. He hasn't become like this media darling. We basically see him for a couple weeks during the tournament when it's frenetic anyway. That studio show gets overshadowed by Barkley and Kenny Smith anyway. And Jay Wright he's fine, but he hasn't really been gangbusters when it comes to media. If he's feeling refreshed or he wants a new challenge, this is a great way for the Lakers to save face. You get the win now and in the future thing that you would have gotten with Hurley. You get Bronny's development because I think that actually is important, or the young guys because he has that college bedrock. And look at what the Knicks. Look at these Villanova Knicks that just have these guys play the right way. They have the right attitude, all that stuff. And Jay Wright was like the architect of all of this. So I think Jay Wright's stock is super high right now, even though he's been away from coaching for 2 years.
Yeah, but isn't the storyline with Jay Wright is he doesn't want any of these jobs? Like he's turned down every college offer.
Well, maybe college. I wouldn't want to get into college right now either.
And he's turned down every NBA offer in the past.
Well, just the Knicks and the 76ers, and these two franchises in history have not been like the beacon of stability. Not that the Lakers are either, but it's always something with the Sixers and it's always something with the Knicks.
Really? I feel like those are two pretty good jobs. No, I mean, they're not the Cavs and the Pistons.
Okay, that's fine, but
I mean,
the Lakers and coaching LeBron, I think Jay Wright would be up for that.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm a little skeptical because he's turned out everything else. I just feel like this would be the place where he jumped back in. It just feels odd. Like, why would Jay Wright want to take this on if he doesn't want to take on Kentucky? Like,
did he get offered that job?
Well, of course he did. I'm sure. I'm sure every opening in college basketball, Jay Wright's your first call.
Maybe he was done with college.
Well, that's what I think too. I think he didn't want to do NIL anymore. I think it's, you never get a minute to get a breath because you're constantly recruiting your own roster and everyone else's roster. And I think college, there's a reason why coaches are saying no thanks to the college.
But I feel like there must have been. And by the way, that's the two NBA offers we know. Like his agent could have been out there shopping. I mean, he probably could have. Maybe the Lakers pulls him out. My hunch is that there's a reason he doesn't want to coach anymore, and this is a hard place to jump back in. Like this, and Danny Hurley probably thought the same thing. Like, ooh, this is my entree to the NBA. It's very complicated because there are huge expectations and a flawed roster. LeBron's 40. I don't know. Maybe Jay Wright short term does this. It feels like this is not ideal for him. But I like the hire from the Lakers standpoint. You're right. Yeah. His guys play hard. I like this idea of having a college coach come in. But from Jay Wright's standpoint, he just seems to say no to everything.
Yeah, maybe. But again, timing, maybe you get the itch again. It's not college. And the other part about why I think Jay Wright would be a good candidate now for the Lakers to pivot to, and Mark Stein has reported this again, and I talked to one person yesterday who also reinforced this, that Jay Wright would be the person to keep an eye on. And I think that Jay Wright's legacy is set. Like we've talked about, can the Lakers job really hurt you if you get fired from it? Are people all of a sudden going to be looking at you differently? Jay Wright, no one's going to look at that and say, man, Jay Wright really failed there. They're going to say the Lakers failed. I think Jay Wright's reputation is so solid that it would be Teflon. Like if it doesn't work in LA, I don't think that this sticks with him. Like, wow, what a failure of a coach. So just say, no, it's Jay Wright. Couldn't make it happen, or the Lakers failed him, or whatever.
I totally agree with that. Right, it's a little different. Danny Hurley's younger. Feels like Danny Hurley's on the ascent, where Jay Wright's already done what he needs to do. Yeah, right. Like it'd be kind of an emeritus position.
This is why I wanted Coach K to be the Lakers coach when he retired from Duke, and I thought that could be a good emeritus position for Coach K, but he didn't take it.
You got to look at it from the Lakers standpoint. With Coach K was even a decade older than Jay Wright.
That's true.
Yeah, I think it gets back to like, what's the future of the Lakers? What's their game plan here? Even Jay Wright feels a little haphazard.
Well, I mean, he could coach that team for the next 6 years, you know?
He could. Will he? I don't know.
855-212-4227. So that's what's going on right now. We're asking you, will Danny Hurley regret this decision of not coaching the Lakers? And 2, who should be their next head coach? 855-212-4227. You mentioned Danny Hurley, not the only coaching news out there. Somebody in the NFL got a contract extension yesterday. Is the fan base going to be happy or are they going to be mad? We'll tell you next. Maggie Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Breaking down the Dan Hurley saying no to the Lakers. Isn't it funny? This is the most exciting part of the NBA coaching carousel is a college coach saying no. I can't even really remember who the other coaches are. Yeah, the Hornets hired Charles Lee. I don't remember. Well, there were some other Budenholzers going to the Suns, and that will fail 100% of the time. It's just so interesting, both from the college angle and the Lakers angle. We just see it totally differently. I think the offer was so underwhelming that Danny Hurley easily flew back from L.A. and said, that was nice. The weather was great. That was a cool restaurant they took me to. But 6 years, $70 million? What? I can't. I've been reading more about this. Like the Monty Williams negotiation with Cleveland or Detroit. That's Detroit. Like, that's Monty Williams. Like, they should have blown him out of the water with a contract. You think this is all just him using the Lakers to get more out of UConn. You know why I think you're wrong? Next year, I think Danny Hurley will take an NBA job, and it's going to be twice as much as the Lakers offered. I think he gets double the amount.
Well, maybe, but he was literally in active negotiations with UConn when suddenly he got really interested in the Laker job. And so it's like, I didn't know that information last week that they were in a contract negotiation with his employer, and this is just an easy way to kind of play one against the other. I guess like $70 million for somebody who has no NBA experience to me was not an insult. Like Monty Williams at least had been to a finals, in the NBA. I know they lost, the Phoenix Suns did to Milwaukee, but he still was had proven it on that NBA level where Hurley there would have been an adjustment period, no doubt. But again, where's LeBron in all of this is a big question. That is still out there.
And he's not involved at all.
Yeah, well, sure. Why wouldn't LeBron be involved?
Because I don't know. The Lakers.
Is this for me?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Pro.
Yeah, because the Lakers obviously have a different way of doing this. Obviously, like LeBron. I'll tell you, this is what's going to happen. Dan Hurley will go back. He'll get a raise from UConn. And then he's going to get offered somewhere $140 million next year. And LeBron has nothing to do with this coaching hire because he would not cheap out like this.
Well, yeah, I don't know where LeBron is all this, and I'm sorry to interrupt you there. I was distracted because Pete has paid off his penance today. You're
welcome.
Thank you very much for the iced coffee from Dunkin'. Sounds delicious. We all guessed what time the news would break, and Pete was furthest from the hole. So you had to buy breakfast this morning.
I used the Price is Right theory, and I should not have.
Didn't work out. What did everybody order?
I had a turkey sausage, sandwich, and so did Bogusch.
Pearl, what'd you get?
I took it easy on Pete. I got nothing.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Interesting
strategy.
Yeah, we're a far cry from a salmon tower.
That's right.
No, believe me, if I had lost. No, Perloff, you didn't want anything? Nothing?
From Duncan, I'm good.
All right. Well, thank you, Pete. Ryan, what'd you get?
Nothing. I wasn't here, so I don't feel obligated.
Fair.
I offered to everybody, Colton, everybody.
All right.
Yeah, in the end, if you're going to lose, yesterday was the day to lose because you just spent like $9.
And you got all the rewards points.
Right, exactly. And you got yourself an iced tea that I got for you. Everybody wins.
Daly's in the chat says, I think Maggie needs a bigger iced coffee. This thing is the size of my arm. So thank you for that. I will be running home after the show.
A lot of conspiracy docs to watch later.
I don't need to
stay wired.
Yeah, I don't need a car when I'm going home later. I'm just going to jog it. It's about 40 miles. Bogues, what do you have for headlines for us? Dan Hurley, not the only thing going on today.
No, we've got the Florida Panthers. They are halfway to the Stanley Cup, despite trailing for the first half of Game 2 with the Oilers last night.
Looked to play it on net, couldn't get it through. Another try, a shot, he scores! Evan Rodriguez let it rip, and he beats Skinner short side. The Panthers have their first lead of the night. It's 2-1. What a laser of a wrist shot that was.
Doug Plagens on Panthers radio. Evan Rodriguez scoring at 3:11 of the third period to break a 1-1 tie. Yet at a power play goal 9 minutes later, Florida topping Edmonton 4-1 for a 2-0 series lead. The Oilers have only once recovered from an 0-2 hole in team history. Connor McDavid just 1 assist through these 2 games.
We can be better for sure. I thought they went up a level and we didn't match it today.
Game 3 in Edmonton on Thursday night. The big question between now and then is the health of Panthers captain Alexander Barkov. He took a hit to the head from Leon Draisaitl midway through the third period last night. Did not return. Draisaitl got a minor penalty for the possible
that was
elbow.
cheap.
Definitely a heavy hit for sure, and not the right target. Elbow to cheek.
I mean, it's so desperate. And Draisaitl's awesome, but that was such a desperate move, and it should have been a major.
The game was nasty last night, too. It was a knee-on-knee hit. A guy got ejected in the first period. There's a lot going on in this one, but the Panthers, again, get the win 4-1 and the 2-0 series lead. The Baltimore Orioles making quick work of their first ever 4-game sweep in Tampa Bay.
Henderson in left side of the game's first pitch is belted. Deep center field. Going back is Jose Siri at the track. He is out of room. First pitch. Leadoff homer for Gunnar Henderson. How about you, Gunnar?
All of that from Orioles radio. 21st long ball of the season for Henderson. It starts Baltimore towards a 5-2 win and that 4-game sweep. The Rays have now dropped 13 of their last 17 at home. The Yankees got a 4-2 win in Kansas City, while the A's lost in San Diego 6-1. Oakland's dropped 9 of 12 to fall a season-worst 12 games under 500. NC State beat Georgia 8-5 to claim the last of 8 spots in the Men's College World Series. It's the 4th time they're going to Omaha, the 4th ACC school going right now.
Hey, wait, I have a question for you guys. You guys were so into the college softball. I'm not getting as many texts from you and hearing as much water cooler talk about the baseball.
Softball is everything. Baseball is interesting. I like it. I watched the Clemson game, that controversial Clemson game. But women's softball is just like, the product is visually so awesome that, like they're on top of each other. I don't know. The game seems faster, more happens.
The game's definitely faster, but Clemson, Florida on Sunday was one of the best games, craziest games I've seen in a long time. That game was bonkers.
What was that against? I was against a memorial or something, or was that at night?
No, it was like later afternoon, like crossing dinner time, I feel like.
But there's something, what is it? I always talk to our buddy Jimmy Train at SI about this. There's something magical about softball on TV. I don't know. Like, I like playing softball too. It's like, I can see myself out there.
You think that's relatable? Like, you could do that?
Yeah, I definitely could do that. I mean, the pitch is coming in pretty fast, but.
You think?
I don't know. I think I could hit 200 in maybe a smaller conference.
We had our last coaching my daughter's team last night, 12 and 13-year-olds, and I was like, oh, this is my last chance to ask Sam, who's our best pitcher, if I could stand in one time because she throws BBs. And again, she's 13, but I don't know that I could touch it.
She throws like they do on TV?
I mean...
The windmill thing or just underhand?
Oh, no, the windmill thing. Wow. They're... shin high. She's got a changeup that she throws like with her like backhanded, like her finger.
At 13, she could do all that.
Yeah, I mean you're doing it all naturally, but yeah, she's talented, and I want to get in the box ones, but I don't know. I don't want to look foolish at 44 versus 13.
So you never asked her if you could stand in?
No, and it dawned on me last night. Like this is the last time we're all gonna be together. She's serious. She's a serious player, so she's got a whole warm up routine, and I'm like. So in any other time, that's a big ask to get her to loosen up and then pitch to me. Last night was the time, and I couldn't do it.
Does she
don't want to disrupt her routine?
Exactly. What's her ERA? Does anyone hit her, or is she like unhittable?
I don't. No, she's not unhittable. We don't keep elaborate stats like that. But I mean, she pitched. She got like the last 8 or 9 batters out that she faced last night. Like boom, boom, boom.
Because I've seen your son's team play, and I got to tell you right now, you could hit 400.
You had to go there, huh?
I'm just saying.
So
just saying, just hit it to left field.
I'm going to have to go to a swim meet soon so I get some fresh material on the Perloff girls.
I invite you all the time. She's got a meet in 2 weeks.
You weren't at all a little concerned that if you stood in the batter's box against this 13-year-old, you might hit it back at her, and that might be something.
No.
She's got the face mask on, so that's the initial. But she's also, I think she can handle herself on the mound. I mean, people every once in a while do hit the ball back
but
through.
Not a comebacker from a middle-aged man.
It's way more likely that Bogusch would strike out than hit a line drive up the middle. Like that's funny you said that. That was the last concern in that story that he was going to hurt her.
Is her safety.
Yeah, that never even
dawned
on
you. Hamstring, a rotator
pride.
cuff. Yeah.
That's where you drop a bunt.
Well, not you.
A bunt down.
slap hitting.
Dead on the grass. So there you go. You got a base hit.
What does it do for team morale if she strikes you out, though? That could be great. She'd be like a hero.
Oh, yeah. And that would be my story after the fact. She did it for motivation.
She'd definitely strike you out, right?
That's
That's where I was getting from your story.
The likelihood is me not doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to at least make contact.
I've been there before. I once got beaten in tennis by an 8-year-old, and it happened. I was 16, he was 8, and he beat me. And it was a lot to handle that day. He lived at a tennis academy, so I say that to make myself feel better.
He's Andre Agassi.
That dude couldn't miss.
Last name Sampras.
Couldn't freaking miss. It was Carlos Alcaraz. No. It was some like twerp from Connecticut. He was good, though. Damn good.
Ageless tight end Mercedes Lewis has re-signed with the Bears for a 19th season. He just turned 40 in May. He is the second oldest player in the NFL behind Aaron Rodgers. And finally, a lot of people want to get in Tom Brady's pants, and now somebody can. The pants that Brady wore at his final NFL game, the Bucs' wild card loss to the Cowboys in January 2023, just sold at auction for $89,000.
Oh, get a life if you bought that for $89,000.
Is it Nikki Glaser?
That was my first thought.
I thought you were going with this from the roast. $89,000 for the game-worn pants.
For pewter, 34 waist pewter Bucs pants that Brady wore in his last game.
Yeah, Robert Kraft definitely bought them and put them in the Patriots Hall of
And that
Fame.
was a loss to the Dallas Cowboys, right?
Correct.
That's a lot. And you only get the pants. That's it?
Not the man. I don't know if they've been cleaned since. I don't know if there's still the essence of Brady is still lingering in the fabric. I don't know.
But you don't get the jersey. You don't get the pads. Just the pants.
Just the pants. That's a weird thing to put on display. Pants.
Kind of.
Like in your man cave in like some kind of weird frame, there's just pants hanging there.
And you think you could get like a helmet or a jersey for $90,000.
I mean, if the pants are 90, a jersey's got to get easy into six figures, right?
I guess so, but there's not. He played for 22 years. There's not a helmet lying around somewhere. A jersey when he beat the Bills 50-0 that someone might be able to get cheaper.
I'll bet my house to say that Giselle didn't buy him.
She's holding it hostage.
She's got a whole treasure trove of things that she's just sitting on. She's going to sell one day.
Yeah, she's probably got some stories.
Should do it right when he starts his first game as a analyst.
By the way, other Brady news. Did you see that tomorrow they're retiring his number at Foxborough?
Yeah, I don't understand the timing at all.
Tomorrow, apparently, it was a scheduling conflicts all over the place because he's going to be calling games this year, so he's not going to have a weekend free during the season. You have the New England Revolution, who have some weekend games. That was going to make it hard to hold this ceremony.
The Revs are messing this up?
I think I saw that.
Why couldn't, I don't understand. Why couldn't he go, though they don't have any primetime games or off Sunday games or something?
Well,
he's got to do every Sunday for Fox.
So they make like a whole weekend out of it, or it's a couple day event. They have over 200 players who are coming in to attend it, and they didn't want to rush it, I guess, or whatever, and they wanted to have like enough time to kind of thank him.
Can I jump in for a second? What I'm reading is that he's going to the Patriot Hall of Fame tomorrow.
Hall of Fame. Are they not retiring the number?
Yeah, but I think they're going to do that at a game. I think Perloff's guess is probably right, a primetime non-Sunday game, but tomor's Hall of Fame.
Oh, sorry. Okay,
but do they have a primetime game, though? They might not have it.
That's a great question.
Could they do it the same time?
Maybe one.
Not if you want to milk it, Ryan. If you want to milk it, you gotta.
So do it in the off season.
Well, that's what they're doing. But it's tomorrow.
No, I'm saying. So their logic is to do it in the off season.
Nobody cares.
So I think they also wanted to do it before people take a break. I think Patriots OTAs start today, or minicamp. Excuse me, mandatory minicamp starts today, right? I saw the news that Drake May was looking really good yesterday. And so they want to get this done before Patriots staffers get to take a break before training camp.
This is such a Patriots move right here. This is clearly just milking it and just doing it in the off season. I mean, do it like Ryan said. Do it together. Do it all once. Well, I don't know why you need to separate them, and it just makes no sense to me. But it's a typical Patriots move.
I mean, Pete, the Patriots are going to win like 4 games this year. They need reasons for people to show up
twice during the season. I don't know why you do it in the off season.
He's broadcasting this year.
Oh, yeah. He could take a day off.
He's going to be in Cleveland. He's going to be in L.A.
I'm sure
he's going to be in Dallas.
I'm sure he's able to take a day off.
But by the way, I guess we have the schedule. Is he going to do a Pats game? That would be super interesting.
Right. Do it that day.
I feel like we would have known that.
I'm sure we could check that. I mean, it does seem like I know that they changed the CBS and Fox relationship with the conferences, but they do. Yeah, they could make that happen. They got to bring him to New England once.
Got to, right?
All right, we'll check that. And also, there's a lot of flex on the second half of the season, but you can't plan a jersey retirement during a flex week. Like, hope that they're going to flex into that.
Again, I don't think this is a bad job by the Patriots. I think they were really just trying to get everyone's schedule. Listen, I love bashing the Patriots. I think this one was just kind of on the up and up.
Our Pats are getting flex out a lot of weeks coming up. I don't see any flex ins this season.
Pro Football Talk put out an article predicting it. Week 5, Dolphins at Patriots might be one of them.
Okay.
So that could be a week where he gets it retired.
They also do have a primetime game. They are on Thursday Night Football at the Jets. Week 3.
Right there.
At the Jets, though. They can't do that then.
Can't do it. No, that would not be
Can't
a
do it in
warm
Jersey.
Jets would do it.
Right there.
That would not look.
Jets would do it.
Close enough. I'm with Pete. It's just up 95. Why not?
I would love to know what the crowd would be chanting at Brady for that one. And then they're in Europe. They played the Jacksonville Jaguars at 9:30 in the morning on
do
NFL
it there.
Network. Week 7.
Do it in Munich.
That's right.
I'm sure that Brady would love that.
Oh, okay. But they have a lot of
NFL.
okay. They do have a ton of Fox games though. They have
They do.
starting with week 2 Fox. Yeah. Oh, I think Fox loaded up their schedule with Patriots games so they could use Tom on them.
I would do week 4 at San Francisco.
Right. Well, we're talking about for a game for sure.
For a game for Brady. Yeah, not for the retirement.
If you want to retire,
Brady's hometown against a team that he made his name on.
It has to be that Sunday, October 6th game against the Dolphins because there's no other. That game is on Fox for no reason. Like an AFC versus AFC game should be on CBS, especially that early in the year. That game being on Fox now, it has to be that day.
Oh.
It has to be.
I like it. But you know what? He'll probably do the Patriots back-to-back because that Niners-Patriots, that'd be great too because Niners was the team that almost got Brady.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, that is.
Maybe we finally get the truth.
Yeah, that is, I do not.
Oh, sorry.
I don't watch games for broadcasters. I would watch that one for Brady.
Well, maybe we finally get the answer to they're taking this bleeping guy over me.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful.
Was it Jimmy Garoppolo? Was it Derek Carr?
I forget. Was it Jimmy G in Vegas or was it Jimmy G in San Francisco?
Jimmy G in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Oh, it was Derek Carr in Vegas.
Derek Carr in Vegas.
Who ended up in New Orleans a year later anyway.
They should have went with Brady. No kidding.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, good point.
Didn't have to money quarterback that one. Anything else, Bogues?
No, I'm done with pants.
Okay, there you go. Brady's
Big
pants. And Bogusch now going to go see HR for a second if you're really done with pants. Brady's pants go for $90,000 and he's going to the Patriots Hall of Fame tomorrow. Okay, mentioned it. Got to get to it. Mike Tomlin, contract extension. Are Steeler fans happy about this or not? Get to that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Mike Tomlin gets a 3-year contract extension. Perloff, welcome back to the show, by the way. Again, the tradition of Steelers head coaches being in stable spots. Mike Tomlin's going to be starting year 18 with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I read this, and I thought it was kind of interesting. I'm curious what Steeler fans think about this, because Mike Tomlin obviously is one of the best coaches in the NFL. You had that survey that, players only want to play for Mike Tomlin, and he obviously has the very impressive stat of never having a losing season in 17 years as the head coach of the Steelers and 11 trips to the playoffs. However, that's not really the whole story. They also have not won a playoff game in their last 5 tries. They have not won a playoff game since 2016, and I think there is a thought by some of the fan base that yes, Tomlin has got the most out of, at times, some mediocre rosters, but who's responsible for having those mediocre rosters? Because he does kind of touch the personnel side as well as the coaching side.
Does he?
Yes.
Well, regardless of that, the one thing, generally I would be kind of cynical if I was a Steelers fan, because you're stuck in this limbo where you have winning records, but you're not making any noise in the playoffs. But they're on flat-out fire drafting. And I think it's a lot of Omar Khan, who seems to be, everything you hear about him, he's pretty hardcore. Last year's draft was crazy good, like one of an all-time Steelers draft. They got Joey Porter Jr. in this second round. There's a redraft. He's a number 3 pick in the entire NFL. And this year, it looked like they did really, really well again. So they're getting a lot of young players. They just need a quarterback. I think you could win a Super Bowl with the right quarterback. I don't think they have it this year, in my opinion, with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. But they are really talented. They definitely have a lot of good players coming through that system.
So you think that Steeler fans should be really happy about this? This is a good day.
No, I don't know about that. I think Steelers fans, I think that they're drafting really well. That's all I will say.
But is that the coach? Maybe.
No, I think it's the GM. I don't think it's Tomlin. I think Tomlin is, I have no idea. I'm not in the building. Sure. But honestly, did Tomlin take Broderick Jones? Why is that a Tomlin move? These don't feel like Tomlin's signature moves. Feels like Tomlin's strengths are relating to players and really playing good defense. The question, I think, that if I'm a Steelers fan, my biggest worry is this conservative style going to work? Can you win a Super Bowl with this?
Okay, so I would think if you're 17 years in the building, you're involved somehow in the draft process. I don't think that it's such a separation of church and state that you just come in, on Sunday after the draft is like, so who'd we get? I can't imagine, because you're going to want the coach to have input on the type of player that it is, the type of personality that it is, all of that.
Also, he gets them in the building and makes them good too. Who knows, if Joey Porter Jr. went to a bad coach, he might have not looked as good, and he gets a lot of flags. But regardless, maybe also it's a combination. See, to me, it'd be more like, okay, everybody, it's a team effort to draft them. Then Tomlin makes the defensive players look really good.
Sure.
Offensive players, not as much.
Well, and that's another part, I think, where Steeler fans might be frustrated. And listen, it's great to have stability at the head coaching position, no doubt about it. But Tomlin also is hiring his coaches and hiring offensive coordinators that I think have left a lot to be desired. And the other part of this, too, is I think Kenny Pickett, just by virtue of him being in the building literally and playing at Pittsburgh, I think everyone has to wear that, right? If you wanted Kenny Pickett as your quarterback in the first round, who's now the backup to Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia, and that totally failed, doesn't everyone have to wear that? The coach, the GM, everyone kind of has to wear that failure. And to be honest, I think everyone in the building has to wear the failure of not having a Ben Roethlisberger successor, and not even that process now taking way too long to find the next guy after Ben Roethlisberger. And to your point, I think these two options with Russell Wilson and with Justin Fields, neither of these feel like they're slam dunks either.
Well, at least one thing they do have, their flexibility. They could get out of both these guys immediately. They're basically free quarterbacks.
Sure, but who's going to play quarterback then?
Yeah,
you can get out of it, but then you need another person.
Well, they could draft somebody. They can find. Now, one thing about wearing the Kenny Pickett, it's not like we all knew Kenny Pickett was a mistake. The guy had amazing numbers at Pitt.
But he didn't develop.
Right, but it wasn't like they picked him 21 or 21. It turned out to be a bust. There's no doubt about it. But at the time, it wasn't like a crazy pick. It wasn't a reach by any means. And it wasn't the number one overall pick. So when you say wear it, in my opinion, drafting a quarterback number one and having it not work out, that gets people fired. I think 21 is a little different. Do you buy that at least? Yes, you're right. They don't have a plan, but the Kenny Pickett's not enough to get you fired.
Yeah, but the fact that Kenny Pickett didn't develop is definitely on the coach.
It's on the well, listen, you nailed it. Their offensive coaches have been terrible. Matt Canada did not work out. His play calling was awful.
Yeah, and Mike Tomlin would fire him basically ownership had to step in.
There was a weird loyalty. Yeah, that was a huge flaw in Mike Tomlin last year. Is he clearly needed to switch the offensive game plan and did not. So I just think that there is a chance that they just overload that defense with talent and win a lot of games 17-10. And at some point, probably not this year, at some point, there is a chance that Tomlin gets another Super Bowl. Because, listen, if with TJ Watt's on the field, they're ferocious. I mean, that defense is crazy. They drafted a lot of offensive linemen this year. They seem to have another great draft. I think that they could find a way to get back to kind of, think about early Ben, 2005 when they won a Super Bowl. That wasn't Ben Roethlisberger in the offense. That was the defense.
Sure.
So I think Tomlin, there's a formula where Tomlin could come away on top again. It's old school, and it's not what most teams are doing, but I think it could work. What do you think?
I think there are some faction of the Pittsburgh Steelers fan base that says that the Super Bowl that Tomlin won was Cowher's players.
Yeah.
They lost another one to Aaron Rodgers. All right, no shame in that. That was just the Packers' time. And they really haven't sniffed it since, and especially in the last decade. And I can understand sort of feeling like, all right, what are we doing here? And not that I'm saying there's an easy replacement. I'm not saying Mike Tomlin should be fired. I just can imagine there's maybe a collective like, oh, all right, well, here we go again, because Tomlin has been outcoached in the playoffs by teams that they absolutely should have beaten. And I think that's frustrating for Steeler fans. I think it's very frustrating.
Yeah, they got a lot of wins, though. I mean, I'm looking at his year-by-year record. That guy
that's
wins
always
games.
the gaudy thing.
That guy wins games.
And he wins games, and it's Duck Hodges, and it's God knows who. But again, how much it's like you coached up this mediocre roster or offense, maybe, and how much are you even responsible for the fact that they are mediocre at times? And then the other part of it, too, it's not like the vibes have always been awesome. I know players want to play for Mike Tomlin. I get it. He seems like a straight shooter.
Yeah.
I understand that. But, you have wide receivers who are scrubbing their Instagram. Like, they're not immune to the other problems that exist in the NFL with, negative headlines. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger came out last year and basically called out the entire culture on the offense.
Yeah. Well, also the wide receiver thing, don't they draft, quote unquote character guys? They know what they're doing here. You look at the guys they've had in that building. Nobody wanted to touch Antonio Brown coming out of the draft.
Yeah, look how that ended.
Yeah. No, I'm saying
really messy.
But they got a lot of production out of them. They do this thing where they took Martavis Bryant. I don't know if they actually did they take Martavis Bryant? Like nobody wanted him, and he was there. They have a lot of guys who fall in the draft piece of character, as specifically a wide receiver. It's always been their strategy, and it's worked out. They get 3 years of production, and then it becomes a headache. And by the way, same with I watch George Pickens play. I'm like, how is that guy in the second round? There must be something behind the scenes because he's clearly a first round talent.
Yeah, and he's had issues because he's definitely been frustrated with
unhappy.
the offense.
Yeah, he's unhappy, and I get it. I'm on his side. Throw him the football more. I never understood that at all. That being said, like he's kind of like Liquid Terminator 2. Tomlin has a way of winning. It's just the weirdest thing. Well, I mean, last year they had no right to be 10-7, no right at all. But Tomlin coached them up, and I think good, not great. That's what they're paying for. They're paying for good, not great. Is that okay?
Ask a Steeler fan. I would say no. But again, I don't think that they don't have the solution at quarterback. And Ben Roethlisberger held on there for too long. And they should have had a better plan in place. Hell, even Belichick, who I think the person we can compare Tomlin to, they don't have the rings, but in terms of longevity and staying one place for a long time. I mean, Belichick was drafting Jimmy Garoppolo in the second round to tick off Tom Brady. They haven't found their successor yet either, but they've definitely tried a lot harder. I mean, the other part too is why was Mitchell Trubisky why was he even playing last year? Mason Rudolph was clearly the better quarterback.
Yeah. Well, Trubisky was an overall number. A lot of people made that Trubisky mistake. Coaches,
you have him in the building though.
Yeah.
You can't be getting off on reputation when you watch him in practice every day.
I believe me, I'm not going to defend Mitchell Trubisky. Yeah, when it's 3rd and 9, he throws an 8-yard pass, and even that's a little short. By the way, Big Ben in 2020 was 12-4, his second to last season, and yeah, they did do everything.
That?
Yeah, but I got to tell you,
crazy start.
I remember Big Ben was losing his skill set, and he was still pretty darn good because they were still winning a ton of games. So. Yeah, I don't fault. Sometimes teams rebuild. They've never had to rebuild. Like they went from Ben to nobody and still are 10-7. So Tomlin's obviously doing something right. I totally understand what the Steelers are doing, especially if I'm the owner. To fire Mike Tomlin is tough. It's a really tough move. You have to admit that. That takes a lot of cojones. Maybe Robert Kraft could do it because he fired Bill Belichick, but Tomlin's a little younger. This all makes sense to me.
I ask you this question, and Ryan, maybe we can put this up on Twitter at Maggie and Pearl, which is Mike Tomlin closer to winning another Super Bowl, or has he peaked as a coach? The other part is, and I read this in The Athletic, where they cover the Steelers quite well, and he said, Tomlin, this is from 2 reporters who cover the team, Tomlin may not have a lifetime contract with the Steelers, but it's very close to being one. He will remain the Steelers head coach until he chooses he doesn't want to coach anymore, and that sure doesn't seem like anytime soon.
Right. So what's wrong with that? It used to be like that. Like, that's how it has been in sports. When you have a successful coach, why are you going to fire him?
But who has a lifetime contract?
Well,
and who's determining what the definition of success?
Tom Landry had a lifetime contract until he didn't, but that took like 30 years.
Right, I know, but even he didn't. Belichick
but eventually,
did.
But
eventually
the
people
point is,
move on.
Eventually, Tomlin's lifetime contract will run out. Yeah, he could have a Chuck Noll run. He could have
He's having one.
Yeah, I mean, he could have a Bill Cowher run. I'm not surprised he has a lifetime contract. The other thing about Tomlin, I wouldn't be surprised if he walked away on his own because he does seem to wear it pretty heavily. Like every year, man, by the end of the season, he looks like he's aged 5 years. Well, then he comes back and he's all energetic again.
Life in the NFL, 855-212-4227. I know we're on in Steeler country. Curious how the fan base is reacting. Probably not surprised, of course. You don't want him going into the season as a lame duck coach because then he's got to answer questions about it all the time. That can be a distraction.
Yeah, they have enough distractions in that building with the quarterback situation.
No doubt.
That might be part of it. Maybe they're like, let's at least stabilize this.
Coming up, what's next for both the Lakers and for Dan Hurley? Get the thoughts of Jordan Cornette next. It's Maggie Perloff, don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Dan Hurley says, no thanks to the Lakers. Going back to UConn. Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, and this thing's got a lot of layers. Not too surprising. We don't see this exactly the same way. Perloff, you're a little more willing to kind of take this at face value. Like, hey, Dan Hurley went out there with good intentions to L.A., didn't like what he heard or didn't like the offer, and now is back at UConn.
Well, I mean, the Lakers call, I could see Connecticut coach Dan Hurley saying, okay, yeah, I want to listen to this. Now, the Lakers, I think, probably could have done more to get him to say yes. 6 years, $70 million was surprisingly low to me. I thought it'd be longer term, more money per year, and a bigger commitment.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. $70 million doesn't go as far as it used to, especially in California. Yeah. I think the offer was fine. I think Dan Hurley never really wanted to go to the Lakers. I think he used the Lakers to get an extension at UConn, but that's what you and I think. Let's get the thoughts of Jordan Cornette, one of our absolute favorites, NBC Sports, played college basketball at Notre Dame, covers both college and professional hoops, so can talk about both sides of this. Jordan, you heard the news yesterday that Dan Hurley is staying, and what was your thought?
I was with you, Maggie. I wasn't surprised. I never really thought it had many legs to it. Now, obviously, there's a percentage chance because, I mean, come on, it's L.A., it's the Lakers, it's the Yankees, it's the Boston Celtics. It's that type of franchise where you're going to listen. But I've gotten to know Danny kind of well going back to his Rhode Island days, and we have a pretty good relationship as a guy who's done a bunch of his games from Rhodey through to UConn here. And he's too rooted in family. His wife's from Jersey City. She didn't really like being in Rhode Island, let alone get up and go to L.A. And that's not just putting it on his wife. That's him and his wife. That's his family. You know, the ability for his father and his mother to be able to watch his games and be on that back bench supporting him. Like, everything with Hurley is not Dan Hurley, it's Hurley family. And the idea that he was going to pick up no matter how great the contract was, which I think that number didn't matter because if L.A. was truly going to be able to get him and money was the sticking point, the number would have been higher. I just think it was one of those where I'm going to entertain this because I'm not some idiot that's not going to listen to the Lakers. But at the end of the day, I don't think he was ever truly going to do it because he's got such a great thing going. I don't think it speaks to what the NBA is currently, what LeBron means to the Lakers currently, or what the state of college basketball is. It's this guy's a two-time champ. He wants to try and win a third. He wants to chase some real rare air here, and he loves what he's got going on. And I know I'm going long on my first answer, but I also want to sprinkle this into the conversation. If you're going to coach in the NBA and you're a Hurley, where do you want to coach? Do you want to go all the way to the West Coast and go to L.A., or do you want to see if it gets wonky with Tibbs in New York, and then in a couple of years you become the New York Knicks head coach? Like, I think if you're going to make the NBA jump, he's going to want to do it on the East Coast, and maybe he's thinking, let me just keep my head down, keep grinding, keep dominating in college. And if I want that opportunity, let's do it on the East Coast. Let's do it on a team I came up watching in the New York Knicks if it presents itself.
But, Jordan, if you knew all this, and a lot of people knew this around Hurley, how come no one told the Lakers? Because the Lakers look like idiots now.
Perloff, it's a great question, man. I think they were banking on the state of college basketball being something that somebody wanted to pick up in the middle of the night and leave from. And I think that's not an out-of-touch take. I mean, look, not many people turn down NBA jobs when they're coming out of college, let alone the LA Lakers. And I truly don't believe it had anything to do, to reiterate, with LeBron and the status of the Lakers right now. I just think it was a place that did not make sense for him. And I think the Lakers still have a bunch of different opportunities. I just don't think the PR play was that smart for it to get out through Woj. All their eggs were in this Dan Hurley basket. I mean, because there's a lot of fine coaches out there that can come in and do the job, and now they're most clearly second fiddle, but who cares? It's the LA Lakers gig.
Jordan Cornette's joining us, NBC Sports, of course, former college player at Notre Dame, covers both college and the pros, and we always appreciate his perspective. Where do you think the Lakers should turn?
You know, that's a great question. How about the one I saw late last night? And, you know, it's all rumor mill, and I love it, but how about Jay Wright popping up in the mix once again? I mean, I think that's a total long shot. I think he's so happy with what he's doing in the broadcasting realm, and I think fans are so happy listening to him. I think he was so burnt out. It'd be amazing and astonishing if Jay Wright all of a sudden becomes a late dark horse in this thing. But, you know, I'm going to be biased. I mean, I think there's a lot of very skilled, very talented assistant coaches out there. And the associate head with Miami Heat, a former teammate of mine, Chris Quinn, is the type of guy that's a grinder that can navigate those waters. It'd be his first head coaching gig. I understand it. But I think, you know, guys like that are out there, they're talking to a Cavs assistant. I think some of these assistant coaches need opportunities to step up. I mean, rarely do I agree with anything that Kendrick Perkins says on the national airwaves. Most of the time I turn it off. But when he said, you know, the recycling of all these head coaches everywhere, it's becoming like a joke. Like, let's get a fresh look at it. I think that's why people wanted Dan Hurley out there. And if it's not going to be that college coach, I do think you got to bring up some of these young minds that have been cultivated in elite franchises and done a lot of winning, and let them get a chance at it. So is Chris Quinn the one that I would peg? Well, maybe that's not the Lakers fit, but one of these guys coming up that has learned through one of these franchises, I think it's time to give them an opportunity and see if we get some fresh blood in there.
I didn't know we had a media beef between Jordan Cornette and Kendrick Perkins. Let's explore this, man. Take him out.
Fine guy. His instincts are sometimes not aligned with mine.
Get in line with Kendrick, though, Jordan. You know, the Lakers apparently are interested in media members, Jordan. It seems like you like that Lakers job. I don't know if they threw a little money, said J.J. Redick's not available. How about Jordan Cornette? Put him on the list because apparently you don't need coaching experience.
I'm a media guy. I chase the money. I'm no different than anybody else.
Yeah.
I'd be up for it.
What about JJ?
Look, they've still got a million of opportunities out there. I just think, you know, once you hone in on one guy in any coaching search and that fails, but everybody feels like the earth is scorched and it's on fire and, they're underwater. I mean, now they just have to recalibrate. They've got time to pick another guy, and they can still certainly land on their feet with a group of guys that are out there. I never liked the J.J. Redick approach because I think it gets a little wonky when you have the relationship he has with LeBron, and then it's, well, what message is coming out of your locker room? Is this a LeBron-laden message, or is this our actual head coach? And I think when two guys are doing a podcast and have that type of relationship, and he doesn't have the coaching resume coming in, that doesn't feel organic, and it feels like you're already, 0-2 count trying to get out there and get a base hit. I don't like that approach with JJ for that particular gig. He's an elite mind. I think there's a place for him in the NBA. Just don't love it as a fit with LA.
Jordan Cornette's joining us, NBC Sports, both college side and the pro side. He knows both so well. That's why we appreciate his perspective. Where is LeBron in all of this, Jordan? I noticed it feels like he's kind of been absent. I don't know about you, but I know the insiders, Brian Windhorst and others, they've got great information. I feel like they keep trying to sell me that LeBron's never involved in these coaching hires, which even if that's true, it makes no sense because he's definitely involved in the coaching firings. So why wouldn't you involve him in the coaching hirings? Seems like bad process. But if LeBron wanted Dan Hurley, doesn't he make a phone call to Dan Hurley, and couldn't that have swayed things? Like, where do you think LeBron is in all this?
Yeah, and that's what's really interesting. I wonder how much, the groundswell and the news coverage around Bronny James and LeBron, in that realm and all those stories coming out where he maybe just feels like, hey, I can't be too much in the forefront of this now with everything that's the attention that my son is getting. And I think that's honestly where his number one, at the top of his attention lies, is getting his son into the league. Now, again, this is all spitballing. I'm not talking to LeBron. I don't know, but I think it's curious where any other coaching in job or hiring involving LeBron on a franchise, he's always in the mix. It's always discussed. And now suddenly with this one, it's not. And also, I agree with you. Who says no to LeBron if he's on the horn and calls you up and says, how can we make this work? I don't think any of that's truly happened. I do believe that LeBron may be out of the fold on this one. I do believe he may just wait and see what they do.
On the other side, Jordan, in UConn, chance to be the first three-peat since John Wooden. Looking ahead, I know it's a little bit away. How are Danny Hurley's chances of winning another title this season?
I mean, I'd be the guy if I'm Dan Hurley, and he's not going to do this because he's too measured and he's too principled. But why not sit there and be like LeBron? What do you got to Miami? Not one, not two. I mean, that's got to be the mentality. I laughed when I first got the news yesterday that Dan turned it down. I was like, what a elite recruiting pitch. You now walk into any home and say, I did not want to coach LeBron and the Lakers because I knew how good it was at UConn. I want you to come along and see how great it is. This is better than LeBron and coaching the Lakers out in Hollywood. Like, come on. Who says no to that? This guy is a rock star now. I think there's some top 100 camp that starts today that he's going to be at. Like, when he walks in the door, it should be like John Wooden walking in the door. Like, he's got that cachet now where every top recruit, which they already were getting outside of Cooper Flagg, they're going to have anybody and everybody wanting to coach there because how he handled this, too, is being undersold. The fact that he came in and told his team right away when the news came out, sat them all down and said, I don't know if I'm taking this gig. It's out there. This is what's going on. I mean, he treats his players so properly, and it's all about family, and it's all about cultivating the program and program first. Players, if they buy in, they go to the NBA, but he has such a great relationship with them. I truly believe they're going to turn into a full-on juggernaut where it's just absolute dominance here for the next decade, as long as he stays there. I'm not going to say they're going to win every title, but it's going to be UConn in the field for a few years here coming.
Jordan Cornette joining us, former Notre Dame basketball player, NBC Sports, covers the NBA as well. See, I would have the opposite approach. This is how we're different. If I was a coach coaching against Hurley or recruiting against him, I would walk into a kid's living room and say, this guy's leaving. He's leaving to go to the NBA for whoever's going to offer him the most money. Like, I would negatively accrue against that.
He just said no.
But he could take another job, don't you think? He's on the record saying he wants to play. He wants to coach the NBA eventually.
True. But I would look at it and say any good coach anywhere is going to have that up. Any elite coach is going to have that. I mean, people probably said that about Coach K when he turned down the Lakers 10 years ago, or beyond that, 20 years ago when he was dominating. He was going to leave for somewhere else. I truly think unless the Knicks come up or it goes really bad at UConn, I don't think he's going to leave for anything else. I think he's so rooted in what they're doing there. He's got it so good. He wants to try and win a flagrant amount of championships there. And he's making $5.5 million right now. Like, you know, that number got bumped up. He's probably going to be making $8 a year.
Not bad.
Where are you going to go? I mean, that guy showed me the discipline to say, I've got it good. I don't want to mess with good.
Hey, Jordan,
you got that discipline in that moment. I think you stay kind of along that road.
I always think of Dan Hurley. He doesn't even need the best players to me, and maybe I'm being like naive. He just seems to run better plays, and everyone plays defense, and everyone buys in. Like, that's why I think the Lakers wanted him. Is he, in your opinion, is he an outstanding X's and O's coach as well?
Well, see, that's why no matter what time you guys call, when you call, if it's 11th hour, if it's a week runway, when Maggie and Perloff call, that's why I come on the show. Because it's a little bit of Maggie I agree with in the beginning, then she goes left, and then and then I agree with everything he's saying. Like, we just have a good synergy here. Person weave going on. Perloff, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, was there talent that we're going to talk about for years to come? Is Tristan Newton going to be a household name in college basketball in 5 years? Who was kind of the main cog of the operation this past year? Is Von Castle really good? Is he going to light up the NBA? He could. But these aren't names that were just sheer dominant guys that you're going to talk about for years to come. It is absolutely the system, and that's what made him most alluring. Look, Danny's personality was a rigid fit for the NBA. Certainly the Lakers knew that as they were recruiting him, and any other coach in the or any other GM or owner in the NBA that tries to recruit him moving forward. But his system is so sublime. When I watch them play, I'd always laugh, like when guys like Greeny get up there and say they could beat an NBA team. Greeny didn't believe that. Nobody really believes that. But what you're truly seeing is these guys run NBA action. They run offense like an NBA team, and you're not accustomed. Heck, you never see that in college basketball. The desire may be there from the coach, but the ability to execute it and for it to be as aesthetically pleasing and productive and efficient, no, you don't find that anywhere. But you found that with UConn these last few seasons. Could they beat an NBA team? Hell no. Do they play like them? Absolutely. So it's the system first, and he gets some very talented players. But I do believe if you throw a collection of players on other teams, yeah, they win a lot, but they're not running it back in national championship form. And I made this argument finally here. The fact that Danny Hurley is up there is talking about one of the all-time great coaches so early with what he's achieved, it's absolutely accurate. But why I think he's the best coach in UConn history already. Look, Calhoun is that guy. He still has work to do to pass him. But to me, I truly believe Danny Hurley is UConn's greatest coach and one of the best we've ever seen, because in this time frame, to go back-to-back is harder than it's ever been in college basketball history. With NIL, with transfer portal, most especially transfer portal, to have that continuity and have that buy-in to run it back, it's more impressive than when Florida did it. It's more impressive than when Duke did it. It's more impressive than when these teams have done it because of the landscape. You coach a guy up too hard, there's 7 figures or 6 figures waiting for them to leave the next day. And he's been able to maintain that with those guys to go win. It's remarkable. It's one of the most incredible achievements given the landscape of college basketball right now.
Jordan, last one for you. Jordan Cornette joining us from NBC Sports. Real quick, Mavs are down 0-2 to the Celtics in the NBA Finals. Is this series over?
I'll tell you, if Kyrie can't figure out a way to score on Drew Holiday, the series is absolutely over. I mean, the obvious thing that everybody looks at with that group is Luka and Kyrie and them playing off of each other, whether it's first half Luka, take him home Kyrie, vice versa, or quarter after quarter, however they approach it. It's been a two-headed snake that has carried them this way. To me, I think Drew Holiday is the MVP of the finals. Look, Jaylen Brown's going to win it. He's been awesome. But Drew Holiday taking Kyrie out of this thing is the story. And, by the way, he's putting up points. Like Drew Holiday, every time you pluck him on a team that's missing something, they win a championship. So if Kyrie can't figure out now that he's outside of Boston, maybe he can get a little bit more comfortable in Dallas, but Drew's making it uncomfortable for him. They have to take 2 here. They have to take 2 here, no question. They can't take 1 and go back to Boston. It'll be over. But it starts with Kyrie and that Kyrie-Drew Holiday matchup. Dallas is favored in Game 3 come hump day. I love the Celtics. Love them.
Jordan,
I think it goes 3-0.
Thank you so much. You're the best. Appreciate you doing this. Love getting the college perspective from you and the NBA perspective. You bring both. We're running the 3-man weave. It's just great.
I love you guys. Hey, I love being on with you guys. It's been a minute since the tournament. Great way to start the day, and have a great rest of the show, guys.
Appreciate
you. Too, bud.
Thank you. Jordan Cornette, NBC Sports, played at Notre Dame, obviously, covers the NBA as well, does it all.
I love his description. Danny Hurley would be viewed by the NBA as a rigid fit in the sense that, like, we haven't even talked about that much today. The fact that personality-wise, Danny Hurley, remember we were talking about that last week,
yeah.
But no one's brought that up. Like, hey, wait, was this the right fit personality-wise? Anyway, it is an unusual college coaches guy so hard. Could he have adjusted to the NBA? We haven't even mentioned that today. There's a huge adjustment for Danny Hurley, so maybe that was part of the story as well.
855-212-4227. Again, where's LeBron in all this? What's going on?
Why can't LeBron just be at home running his media empire? Why does he have to have anything to do with this?
Right. It's just the team that he's trying to still win a title with, that he wants them to draft his son.
Maggie,
but he has no
point,
input, no thought. No, he's just going to sit this one out on who's going to be the next head coach. Sure.
At a certain point, you're going to have to decide who's running this whole thing. Is it for you? Is it Woj? Is it Bronny? Is it? It certainly isn't the people
it's not
who.
Jeannie Buss and Rob
It's not the people who are getting up in front of the podium and saying they're making the decision. So you have to decide: is it Rich Paul? Is it Adele? I have no idea at this point.
I have that answer for you. I'm going to give it to you next. Again, 855-212-4227. If you want to listen to our show, well, of course, our incredible Infinity Sports Network affiliates, who we are just obsessed with, we appreciate them so much. The absolutely free to download Odyssey app is right there for you. Great user experience. You can go back and listen to shows you may have missed. Also, SiriusXM channel 158. If you want to watch us, youtube.com/Infinity Sportsnet. Twitch.tv/Infinity Sports Network. Perloff and I are not matching today. Hey, that's an achievement. We're wearing different colors. If you want to see what we look like, come on in. Say hi to the Weedos and the coffee drinkers in the chat. More next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The Defensive Player of the Week is sponsored by the Navy Federal Credit Union, who proudly serves the Armed Forces, DoD, veterans, and their families. Their members are the mission. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. Now, normally, our executive producer, EJ Stewart, picks the Defensive Player of the Week, but he is busy. Let's say busy. Is that the right word? I mean, he is on the dream trip of all dream trips. He got engaged in England, and now he's in Paris eating souffle.
He's
It's insane.
Strolling down the Champs-Elysees probably right now.
Yes, he is. I mean, first of all, the dude was in England and asked his longtime girlfriend to marry him.
Yeah.
He could have done it on the Seine. I don't know. Did he miss an opportunity by not doing the City of Love?
You know, I think Paris is beautiful. A little cliched, no?
Yeah,
Get
that's
engaged
true.
in Paris, a little on the nose. I kind of like it in London because maybe you don't see it coming if you're Andrea. You know, maybe she was like, oh, maybe this is happening at the Eiffel Tower, which like would have been cool. I'm not turning my nose up at that.
I mean, the classiest move, he was there for the Mets-Phillies game, would have been to do it during the game on the Jumbotron.
Right after a Met loss, that would have been great.
That really livens up the mood.
But EJ tries to sort of trick us by going off sport or something. So, Ryan, you picked the Defensive Player of the Week this week?
I did.
So
I was going to be rude and pick the UConn AD. Just because he blocked him from the Lakers, but no, I didn't.
I think Ryan went obvious NBA Finals. Drew Holiday or one of the Boston Celtics defenders.
I think that Ryan went with last night's Stanley Cup.
Ooh, a little Sergei Bobrovsky, if you will.
I mean, I think Bobrovsky may have won it already once. Why does this defensive player always sneak up on me every week? I know it's on Tuesday and I'm always unprepared. I think you went with hockey.
Yes.
Great.
It's hockey. It's Sergei Bobrovsky.
After
his game one shutout, he had insane performance. 32 saves, made 18 saves yesterday. Became the first, one of 3 goalies in the past 50 years to allow 2 goals or less in the first 2 games.
Phenomenal.
Is a goalie really a defensive player? I mean, yes, technically, but
how would they be an offensive player?
well, right, but like, you know what I mean? Like,
Nope. They're playing defense. They're
they're
stopping the
technically
puck.
playing defense.
It's like
but
the most
it's-
important defensive player.
Right, but like a fullback in soccer, what do you call the guys who are on defense in hockey?
Defenseman.
Defenseman, right. A defenseman is defense. A goalie is a goalie. There's just a difference.
A soccer goalie is a goalie. And
That tickled Pete.
But
I heard that
actually,
off mic.
there's a position defenseman.
Right.
yeah.
Goalie is just like a little different. I'm just saying.
It's like the apex of the defense.
Right.
It's like the most important, biggest defender.
If the other defenders don't matter if your goalie stinks.
But if you had...
They also give out an award for the best offensive-minded defenseman.
Right. But
and the best offensive player, too.
That's true.
Yeah.
Right, but isn't there...
Goalie's just goalie.
Right. But you would say, who's a great goalie? Give me a great goalie.
Sergei Bobrovsky.
Patrick Roy.
Two-time winner of this award.
Would you ever say Patrick Roy is the greatest defensive player in NHL history? You would say
You'd
no.
He's the best goaltender, but goaltending falls under the defensive umbrella.
But you might also say, who's the best defensive hockey player of all time?
So you also, to argue semantics, you would never ask that question. You would say, who's the best defenseman of all time?
And what do you got, Bogusch?
People would probably say Bobby Orr.
Bobby Orr, right. Just saying.
Are you trying to catch Ryan on a technicality here? What do you want, like a...
Well, I don't know. It's just like we keep doing this darn Panthers goalie. I'd like to mix it up a little bit.
It's like a pitcher. The pitcher's
a pitcher.
One of the best defensemen, possibly. He's a first line of defense against the offense.
He's eligible for Gold Gloves.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like
Which
that.
is my exact point, right? Like Greg Maddux was always won the Gold Glove, right? So defense and pitching are obviously different things. That we can agree on.
Yes.
But he is a pitcher, technically on the defensive side.
Correct.
So there's a big distinction there.
Yes.
But,
the goalie is literally defending the net. He lives inside the metal cage and to keep the puck out.
I know. I'm not saying that goalie is on the defensive side, but you will admit pitchers are not considered defensive players, right?
No, and a Gold Glove is for literally playing defense, like fielding bunts and throws to first base. But
there you go. Think about it. Just think about it.
No, I am. Goalies are in hockey are defensive players. They don't score goals. They don't leave. They can't go across.
Once in a while, they do.
They can't go across the middle of the ice.
Goaltender leaves the net if they want to empty the net to add an offensive player onto the ice.
Right.
I think that Perloff's just it's an issue with the award that we're giving out each week. That's what this is about.
I don't know.
It right.
It just seems a little obvious to go goalie all the time.
Okay, so I mean, if you want to tell Ryan to be more creative,
maybe
fine.
like go with the Panthers defenseman. I don't know.
What an Aaron Ekblad mentioned.
I should have went with David Benedict.
You should have.
The UConn director of athletics.
It would have been way funnier. Bogusch has headlines. What's going on today?
We're going to start with hockey. The Edmonton Oilers are down 2-0 in the Stanley Cup final, despite having two amazing good luck charms. We're now calling her Kate, and even Maggie appreciated her contribution to the Oilers playoff run when she showed social media her 2 goal lights in the arena during a game. Now, in her defense, Kate did not want the video online, but online it went. She did initially get it down, but now she is the most famous Oiler fan in North America. As you might expect, though, she regrets the choice to pull up her Estetikinen jersey.
The handful of cheesies I ate all day and the 8 Trulies I drank in the first period, it was definitely inspiring.
Now, is it cheesy and edible? Is that what that is? Or
I've never heard that before.
Me neither. Truly, I know what those are.
She drank 8 of them in one period?
That's
What
she
an
said.
animal.
Now, this is a very popular Spittin' Chicklets hockey podcast.
Say that again?
Kate did the interview in huge reflective sunglasses because she's trying to hide her actual identity. She's the hero Edmonton needs, but maybe she doesn't want to be.
Are you happy that a lot of people are saying you could lead Edmonton to the cup? This seems like something that Edmonton could really grab a hold of, no pun intended, and ride all the way till they lift Lord Stanley.
Honestly, last night when they lost the game, I was like going to get in my truck and just like drive to the bush and like build a little shack out of sticks and live in it after seeing everyone was like, we need her.
Yeah.
Okay, listen.
Sports.
You know, I was in... Listen, I'm always of the opinion if you've got it, flaunt it. However, you can't have all the cheesies and the Trulias and then lift up the sweater and then say, no, I don't want any attention.
Hey, I didn't do that.
And then go on the most popular hockey podcast that's ever existed.
Right. In costume, though.
I'd rather you not use my last name. Just lean into it, girl.
Wearing a luchador mask.
Yeah.
The only thing she didn't do is just be in shadow with her voice changed,
Listen,
like a witness on a TV show.
She doesn't have to worry. I don't know if anyone was like really looking at her face.
She's pretty, though.
She's very pretty, but I don't think that a lot of pretty women get on a television broadcast, and very few of them make the Spittin' Chicklets podcast. She went above and beyond.
She did.
The Call of Duty, if you will. And to now say, well, I really don't want the attention.
And because those guys are journalists, they did ask if she's used any performance enhancers, and she did say yes. Those are not.
Oh.
Does that change it
those
for
are
anybody?
not natural.
That's the lead.
That's the lead. That's the lead. Edmonton's down 0-2. They're not working. That's the lead.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's because the coach put the kibosh on it when he invoked the name of the almighty Buffalo Bills.
That's true.
Put LED bulbs in. That is.
That conversation really happened between games 1 and 2. So now they've lost game 2, 4-1 in Florida last night. Chris Knobloch's high-flying team has scored just 1 so far in the final.
Yeah, we'd like some more goals, but I'm not calling. I think our top guys have been really good.
So more goals, less boobs. Edmonton did score first.
Well, he didn't say that. He just said more goals.
Right.
You kind of editorialized the other part.
Edmonton scored first last night, but then outplayed throughout the game. Evan Rodriguez scored twice in the first 12 minutes of the third period to break a 1-1 tie. Game 3 in Edmonton on Thursday night.
I saw that there's an adult website that promised her $100,000 to just show off her, you know what, again. And honestly, she should take a page from Danny Hurley, and she should get another site to come in and see how much they would offer her and get a bidding war going, and then maybe then finally the governor of Connecticut will pay her what she's worth.
Well, she wouldn't have to. She would be.
What's the equivalent in Alberta, Canada?
I don't know.
The provincial minute. There's got to be somebody in charge.
Their politics.
Forget about confidentiality after doing that. If she does it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, is $100,000 enough to put your face and name on that in perpetuity on the internet?
Not for me.
I know she said she was really drunk when she did this, but like she definitely did it, and she wants to show these off because clearly she paid for them. So why not also get $100,000 for it? They didn't pluck her out of the convent.
No,
guys.
it doesn't seem like enough. I think
what do you have to do for the $100,000? I'm sorry.
They said just to show off her chest, just as she did the other night. That's all they want, according to.
But they already have it. Why would they pay her even $100,000?
I don't know. They want the proprietary.
I'd do it.
I'd ask for more.
I'm glad to know.
You yell out for more.
Can I show off my chest?
How much?
How do I pay to keep your shirt on?
Bogusch, how much to get you to have a face tattoo?
A face tattoo?
Yeah.
Millions.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Like how many millions? 1.6. Can we do it?
That sounds good. Sure, yeah.
Enough to retire.
I want to clear a 1.6.
Do you get to determine what the face tattoo is, or who gets to choose?
There are no good face tattoos. So
Well,
I'm not sure it matters.
One's the bull's testicles and one's the jello, Like,
can I get my face tattooed on my face?
Seems like cheating.
Yeah.
Can I get $3 million to put on my clothes? I'll take it.
Listen, Pete, I'm sure there's an OnlyFans somewhere for you too. There's there's like some kind.
Find me that person.
There's something for everybody in this
I would
day and
say
age.
the market's not robust, Maggie. I would say
There's some weird
he's
stuff
not going to
out
get
there.
Danny Hurley Connecticut money for Pete's OnlyFans.
But broadcast that wears pullovers.
I don't know. People are asking for pictures of my feet. There's some weirdos out there, man. No
yeah.
disrespect.
I've got some
By the
free
way,
time, Pete, with
Maggie,
Little League over.
If I was your age, I'd say get those feet out there. I have no problem showing my
And they're not modified or enhanced. These are all natural.
Yeah.
Natural.
All natural feet, guys.
Yeah.
Get them while they're hot.
Pop those shoes off, take a picture, and let's rake in the cash. Can we all get part of this?
They've been recently pedicured.
We've somehow had this conversation before. I mean, you can't prove that they're your feet. Why wouldn't you do that?
Well, you only get paid if you put your name to it.
Is that true?
Well, yeah. Because,
What do you mean put your name to it?
Well, like these are my feet.
Right, but you could just pick anything off stock photo and say these are my feet.
No, but I think part of wanting women broadcasters' feet is because like it's part of the appeal of the broadcaster.
No, I understand, but why can't you fake it? Is there a service out there that's verifying the feet?
Because that's would be against my morals and ethics. And there has to be some standard, Perloff, in this world.
I don't think Steiner Sports is doing that.
I almost hosted a show for them once.
I did actually once. He didn't ask for my feet.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you could definitely take a photo of someone else's feet out there. They're not going to mind. This is this is free money, man.
Real foot fetish people, I think, have to know the difference between like what AI generated feet. You can't fake that. You want the real
feet.
thing.
Yes, you can.
But now some people specifically would request your
Yes.
feet, but couldn't you supply
lie?
stock? No, just like be a foot model, for lack of a better term, for sites that just put up feet indiscriminately for people to go look at. Was that not a market? Like, is everybody, do the foot people want to know where the foot
yes.
came from?
So the foot people who I've encountered want, can I have a picture of your feet, not just a stock photo? As far
Okay.
as being a foot model, I think I'm out of the running because I wear a size 9 shoe. It's too big.
Jeez
This is-
Louise. Sorry.
I'm walking
Way
around.
to ruin the allure.
Walking around on 2x4.
We need
That could be
a
a sign
wide
for
lens
that.
camera to take a picture of this. We might need to set up some special photographic equipment to get these bad boys in frame.
I'm on skis.
Sorry for my
definitely a sign for
very
that.
honest reaction there. I didn't know I worked with Krusty the Clown.
Hey!
Use the pano feature on my phone.
Guys, this is why I have such great balance.
Trying to knock me over. I dare you.
I've never noticed, actually. No wonder that people are asking for so much money. That's a lot of foot.
I'm sure someone in Terre Haute will want to see it.
Yeah, you charge by the square inch, should be a millionaire.
Yeah.
I know. It's planks. Sorry to ruin the appeal, guys. I'm not walking around on little baby feet. I'd fall over. I'm 5'8". I can't have a size 6.5 shoe. I'd look ridiculous.
6.5 is also big. What are you talking about?
What do you think? What size do you think women wear?
I have
Oh
no
my
idea.
gosh.
I tell you, nobody in my family wears a size 9.
You guys were just like blown away. Like I just blew everyone's hair back with the fact that I wear a size 9 shoe.
I'm a size 12.
Yeah, for men, see, double standard.
That's right.
Nobody cares when it's a guy.
There has to be a site out there for that.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's what we're getting at. Is there? Can we sell our feet? I mean, I'll take these shoes off right now.
Yeah, no, but
for the
women
right
are
price.
normal. They don't want to see our feet.
My feet are not normal, by the way. They are worn down.
2-Ton Tony said Maggie can walk on water. It's just water skis. Those are my feet.
Yeah. Hey, you want to go water skiing? I don't need any skis.
No equipment necessary.
Just need one check. That's it. One big check.
Where's the boat?
So I think the bottom line is we're selling multiple things here. We're selling Pete Pilati's OnlyFans site.
Yep.
I'm ready to back that.
Me
Pete.
and Bogusch are taking our shoes off and selling our feet.
Yeah,
Let's
with
see
that
if anybody
ringing
buys.
endorsement.
You, I guess, all of a sudden are deciding to be bashful here and not taking this clear advantage to make money for
No,
everyone.
I didn't realize I have plus size feet. I'm like
Yeah.
going to be like one of those models they call curvy.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm in a
You
different
have husky
stratosphere.
My feet are big bones.
Yeah, they're big bone feet.
We should call Ripley's.
I don't know why people think they're not hairy or anything. I'm not a hobbit. But am I?
I'm surprised I don't hear you coming down the hallway with those things slapping again.
Hey guys, good morning.
Oh, Maggie's here.
Do you remember that earthquake? Remember that earthquake a few months ago? That was no
I
earthquake.
was tap dancing.
That poor treadmill for the hot
Right.
takes.
I know that treadmill's doing work, man.
I just remember how we're in the same building as WFAN in New York, and Robert Saleh would text the host. I just got a text from a former Jets coach asking about this segment.
Did she say size 9?
$? question mark.
Not Rich Kotite.
Believe me, Rex and I are on a first name basis.
Oh, I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are.
P. Maddie said Maggie can step on fruit and bugs.
Oh, come on.
I'm crushing grapes.
Yeah, like Lucille Ball.
The finest wines, Pinots, right from these toes.
Size matters to Rex. I love that. A plus only.
Oh my god.
If it's under 8, he doesn't want any.
Do I have big feet? You never noticed them, so clearly I'm not walking around with,
I notice them now.
Yeah.
Can't unsee that.
They're
No, I'm
not
just kidding.
flippers.
You have nice feet.
They're normal.
You've got
I'll
cool
give you
sneakers.
$50 for a picture.
It's going to cost more than that.
Double R hits today.
So we've got Perloff wearing his wife's workout pants and his co-host sneakers.
Also, what are you, the Lakers? Lowballing me with that offer. I can't live off that.
Well, how was I mean, basically men's workout pants and women's workout pants are almost identical, except for a little flare out at the bottom.
It's not the flare out. It's the fact that your waists are the same size.
Oh. Gotcha.
Sorry.
I don't care about the
Wait, are you
bottoms.
taking a diss at my wife there?
No, I think the diss is at you. Wasted away. Let me get you some breakfast or something.
Yeah.
You need that salmon tower.
Oh, I got a funny diet thing for you guys coming up.
For your feet?
It might help. Yes, my feet are on a diet.
You realize if you put your foot on the table right now, we would triple our audience on YouTube.
Not doing it. Also, would you understand that Kaplan couldn't get it all in the frame? We'd have to take all of the quad box and just remove it for me.
I think there's all sorts of new sponsors that can come along with this.
Dr. Scholl's?
Dr. Scholl's for one. I was thinking a little more R-rated, but okay.
Foot Locker.
Foot Locker. Now serving
my foot doesn't
plus-size
fit
feet.
in the locker. Yeah, well, I'm like a little more like Cinderella's ugly stepsisters, like can't shove it in the shoe.
Right.
The prince definitely wasn't coming after me.
That restaurant, Chicky and Feet.
Oh, jeez.
They didn't find my Adidas 3-stripe laying around. It's like, this is the woman I'll marry.
We're being totally mean here. Your feet are totally normal. This is all.
No, let's keep it going that they're not normal. Maybe this gets me in another part of the internet.
Well,
where I can
you're
really
clearly
make
not
money.
willing to sell these darn feet, so I don't even know what we're doing here.
I just haven't gotten the right offer yet. I never said I wasn't willing to sell. I still want to coach in the NBA. It's just not the Lakers.
Would your husband be mad if you sold a picture of your feet?
God, no. He's had access to these things for 15 years.
Yeah. So he's down. Yeah, like this could be your first year of your kid's college education.
Man, bring it on.
You should do this. God, if I had a body part anyone wanted to see, it'd be out there on the internet times 1,000.
Body part. Let's see your left kidney.
I have nice calves. Is there a market for that? No?
Oh, calves. Well, that's usually have to be a little bigger, you know?
Thanks, Maggie.
On top, I meant. People with good calves are generally big dudes. Have you noticed that?
I'm done with pants.
Because they're walking around with a lot of weight all the time, so it's good on the calves.
Yeah. You know, some guys get calf implants. That's
I know.
like a thing. That is weird to me.
Yeah, I don't think any woman has been like, well, I wasn't going to sleep with him, but then I saw the calves.
That's a thing, though.
That's not a thing for women.
Okay.
That's the thing in men's minds.
Yeah,
I'm just not getting any chicks because my calves are bad. It's like Michael Pennis. Yeah. It's because of your Michael Pennis. Okay, 855-212-4227.
Can we do an update there? I don't know.
We got halfway through. Things happened. Whatever.
Okay.
All right. If I was wearing shorts right now, you might rethink that calf implant take. Some men, the calves, they give it, they take it away. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm impressing anyone with these sticks.
How great. We get a treat coming up next. Spin a minute. Perloff going against the grain. How about that? Maggie Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Against the grain.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff. All right, we're going to go against the grain today. Today is a big day. A lot of mini camps report, and a lot of wide receivers may or may not be there. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase in Cincinnati. So this is, in my opinion, Maggie, the time to hold out because all these wide receiver contracts we're seeing, they are about to fall apart in a major, major way.
Why?
Well, remember when they used to pay running backs? Seems like a long time ago, right? Let me read you some contracts for running backs. In 2018, they gave Todd Gurley 4 years, $52 million. Crazy right now. That would never happen again. In 2019, they gave Le'Veon Bell $42 million. And then Ezekiel Elliott, 6 years, $90 million, $50 million guaranteed. So that seemed crazy. But do you remember everybody calling them out? Maybe a little bit Zeke. Nobody called out those contracts back then. They all seemed normal. Did you? We weren't together. In 2018, when Todd Gurley got signed, was anyone saying this is out of control?
I don't remember that. And
No.
I remember people saying Le'Veon Bell, like, wow, look, he held out for a year. He ended up getting a lot of guaranteed money. And
Yeah, nobody. But
Jets.
okay, so that all fell apart fast. Within 2 years, running backs can't make anything except for Christian McCaffrey. So Justin Jefferson gets $35 million per year. This is never happening again. And I wrote up a little thing, 7 reasons why.
wow.
You want to hear 7? We're going to go
Can you do a
fast.
7 to 1 count down?
And you're going to agree with all these. I think that you're fully on my side.
Okay.
The most important reason is supply. Every year, 15 receivers come in the NFL who are awesome. I don't know where they're coming from. There's 7 first-rounders this year. That ties the most ever. 28 receivers have been picked in the first round over the last 5 years. This was never like that. Now, every year, amazing receivers come in. I mean, we have Jets fans in the building. This kid, Malachi Corley, out of Western Kentucky, is going to be awesome, and he wasn't even a first-round pick. So, Puka Nacua, last year in the 5th-round pick. Every year, there are guys who are coming out of nowhere. So, why are you paying Jamar Chase and T. Higgins $30 million a year when you can get that production from a cheap guy? Why, Maggie? Why are you doing it? Stop doing it. Get off those big feet and get smart. Okay. Yeah. Real quick, other reasons. Chiefs won. They did not pay Tyreek Hill. Won 2 Super Bowls. None of us can figure out how they did it. Patriots won 6 Super Bowls. Never paid a wide receiver. Once dipped their toes on Randy Moss. Never won a Super Bowl with that. So you don't have to pay them to win. Number 3, quantity. The smart teams are just loading up with 9 guys on their depth chart. The Chiefs, obviously, they basically have a cast of thousands of wide receiver right now. The Green Bay Packers have 1 million guys, and your Buffalo Bills, look at their receiver. I tell you right now, it's going to work, Maggie. Because it's working in Kansas City. It's working in Green Bay. You do not need to pay a number 1. Jordan Love had a great line last week. He said, we're better because we don't have a number 1 receiver in the NFL. The defenses have no idea where the ball is going. And he made a really, really strong argument. I agree. 4, why are you paying when your offensive coordinator determines all this anyway? Drake London, number 8 pick, great player, right? Gets 6 targets a game. We have no idea. Like, what's the point of paying Drake London when you have Arthur Smith as your offensive coordinator? So it's such a dependent position. Then you're paying Nico Collins this offseason in Houston. He's getting a huge deal, $72 million, 3 years. What is so good? What made Nico Collins so good last year, Maggie? I asked you that. CJ Stroud. So give the money to CJ Stroud. Why are you giving it to Nico Collins? Finally, this is the one reason. This one is my weakest reason, but I like it. Wide receivers are divas. Do you really need the headache? Do you really need Tyreek Hill getting the highest contract and 2 years later asking for a new contract? If you pay them, they're just going to want more. You know, they're like you in your feet pictures. More. So I think teams are going to start to go cheap, and I think they're not going to be $35 million contracts anymore for wide receivers. Like, this is the peak of the market, and it's going down, and smart teams are going to realize that, and they are not going to give up their whole cap for wide receivers. Telling you right now, it's a new running back. You heard it, 8:53 Eastern, June something today, June 11th. That is the end of the wide receiver. This is mark this time. People heard this, GMs around the league. Former coaches who are paying up for foot photographs heard this, and they're not going to pay receivers. What do you think?
I think I'm immediately regretting telling you guys that I wear a size 9 shoe. That was a regrettable thing to do.
Fact.
And then the other part of this is it's a great against the grain. Solid. I just think we're yada-yadaing over a lot.
Too bad we're out of the segment. You can't explain what that is.
Well, Travis Kelce getting paid at the top of the tight end market. The quarterback. The San Francisco 49ers paid a wide receiver in Debo, and they were in the Super Bowl last year. Same with the Philadelphia Eagles and A.J. Brown. Wide receivers do help you get to the Super Bowl.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining.
I'm done with pants.
One minute remaining.
And down the stretch they come.
45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Dan Hurley going back to UConn isn't the only thing happening today. Hey, welcome to the show, Maggie Gray and Joe Perloff. We're trying to solve all the Lakers' woes of who should be their next head coach. Where's LeBron in all of this? Where's JJ Redick in all of this? But in the meantime, one of the biggest stories in sports, Pearl, is without a doubt Caitlin Clark. And this sort of like down the middle, cut the baby in half situation happened yesterday where she was left off the Olympic team. There was outrage on some sides. There was rejoicing maybe on other sides where people thought she was being handed too much too soon. Well, now she's going to be an alternate. So the moment anyone in the backcourt, like if Chelsea Gray can't play because she hasn't been healthy this entire season, Caitlin's going to make it as an alternate. So I don't know where this leaves us with the story. Kind of a little bit of a, I don't know. To me, not disappointing, but kind of an odd ending to the story if she ends up making it as an alternate.
Let's be honest. Like, what is Caitlin Clark really here? Is she a WNBA player? Is she the greatest take generator in the history of sports? Like, and it's almost like she gets lost in the conversation. And she becomes a symbol that is so much bigger than just herself. She becomes a symbol of white players. She becomes a symbol of women's basketball. It's interesting, too. And she keeps on trying to downplay it and just say, I want to go out there and play ball. So it's funny that you would say that is somewhat of a disappointing ending. Like, I'm not really sure what we want out of this Caitlin Clark thing exactly. Is it we want to see her play? We want to see her grow the sport? It's just become such a big, sort of hard thing to wrap my head around.
Well, because it's a lot of things. Sometimes athletes do become symbols for things. And she's definitely touched on a lot of different ones, but there's no denying that she brings out something in people. Her style of play brings out something in people, and just who she...
I feel like that's been lost.
Is. I think it's how she played. Like, let's not forget the whole reason why she has the platform and how she's ascended to this stardom begins with how she plays.
Yeah, but it feels like we've almost lost
here with more of a Isaiah Thomas on the Dream Team in 92 situation with Michael Jordan freezing him out.
Yeah, I mean, could it be a combo factor where like they're like, oh, she's close as a player, but not quite. And then we think we'll make people mad if she's on the bench. So you do admit that there are bigger forces than just basketball. Like you've said yesterday that the marketing reasons are a real reason. Yeah. Like they should keep growing the sport. But maybe they waited and said, you know what? I understand like she'll grow the sport, but I just don't think she's quite there as a player. She just misses. She's not quite there. So maybe that was their argument. You're right. It is a little flimsy. And maybe there's no consistency here at all. But if she's playing in Paris, maybe we'll all forget about this period.
Yeah, maybe, or maybe this is another part though. It's like, how are her teammates going to treat her now that they're teammates? You know, It's one thing if you're, hard fouls and stuff like that when she's an opponent, but how do they treat her as a member of Team USA?
I assume perfectly nice. No?
Honestly, I thought it'd be better for her to be their teammate. Like, let's all start gelling a little bit and get a little chemistry between her and some of these veterans who may have an axe to grind or something.
But ironically, which is worse for the sport, because we want to see people doing controversial things to Caitlin Clark because it gets a lot of publicity. She shouldn't. Won't she just normally just acclimate to the league and the league will acclimate to her? Isn't it just a matter of time before everyone's used to her and she becomes a star amongst other stars?
No doubt. But here's I think the one part of it. We're talking about Caitlin Clark now, might be the first alternate or one of the two alternates who could make Team USA after all this hubbub about whether or not she was snubbed or not snubbed. Now she could be an alternate. Hasn't been named one yet, but she could be one. I think here's one of the part where people like me feel a certain way about this, like she should have been on the team from the very beginning. And here's why. I think a combination of understanding women's sports and also understanding media and sports, which is when you have people's attention doesn't mean you're going to have it forever. Ask boxing and horse racing how that's, people will move on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And I think if you are this sport who now has everybody's attention for whatever reason it is, it's a positive reason, right? It's not because like she's in the headlines, like getting arrested out at clubs or something, and that's why we're all paying attention. It's a positive headline where she is bringing like eyeballs and notoriety to the sport. And I think there's a fear that if you do something without her involved, people are going to turn away. It's like, no, don't turn away. And again, I know it's not a one-player league, and I'm not trying to denigrate the W like that, but it's like just keeping the momentum going off of Caitlin, just keeping that momentum. Because I realize what we do here, we move on to the next story really fast. And you can't ask people's attention in perpetuity. You have to earn it, especially in this landscape.
Well, it's funny, too. There could be a sort of unintended consequence if she wasn't there. She could not play in the Olympics, then everybody be more eager to see her in WNBA, and the WNBA ratings would explode. Like, nobody would watch the Olympics because nobody cares about those players. That's what everyone keeps telling me.
Right.
So nobody watches that, but everyone would be like, they're watching for Caitlin. So maybe the audience misses Caitlin and the numbers boom in the fall. That's actually what would happen.
Well, but again, that's not how every other sport's operating. No one's taking games away. No one's taking stars away. They're only adding games, adding stars, adding new markets. Like if it's good for the men's sports to constantly be putting stars and adding games and adding playoff teams and add in-season tournament and add, then why would it be good for women to have Caitlin go away?
Because it's funny thing about it is there are a lot of people who don't want their star players to play in the Olympics. It's an exhibition. Like nobody trusts me. There's not a single person in Philly who wants Joel Embiid on the court at the Olympics. It's just a complete waste. In fact, it's totally insulting.
Well, that's also because he's been injured so much.
Yeah, and like Mark Cuban famously didn't want Dirk to go over there. I just think that what good, it's not such a huge game changer for the WNBA to have Caitlin in the Olympics. I think it's more, and like honestly, like NBA guys, I get like the Dream Team and the Redeem Team were individual cases.
Sure.
But honestly, I don't want LeBron over there. Like, you need that guy's legs. Like, if I'm the Lakers fan, if you root for an individual player, you don't necessarily want them to be part of the Olympics. So there's very different cases. Like, you might feel bad. Like, Knicks fans are mad that Jalen Brunson's snub, but they're going to be thrilled to see him in the fall. I don't think this would be the end all to be all. If she's in Paris and they're killing everybody and she gets 9 points and a gigantic win over Slovenia, I mean, like, is that such a game changer for the WNBA? Is it really going to grow the sport like Dream Team?
I mean, I don't know the answer, but I definitely know the answer if she's not there, because I think you're getting the status quo. And
the status quo with her is fire.
No, that's what I'm saying. Without her, you're getting the status quo of what you've had for the last 7 gold medals that the women have won, which has
apparently done nothing for the WNBA.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Maybe she does help. Like, I can't tell you definitively, but I know what happens if she's not there, because that's what I've been watching. So I think that if she is there, I have to imagine that it just even increases the interest. Plus, it's happening in the summer where, besides baseball, you're not competing with like a ton, NFL training camps haven't opened up yet. Like, you do have
You're competing with the rest of the Olympics, but yeah, I think it should be a nice little sideshow there. I don't think that, honestly, like, Simone Biles is competing. Like, that's a big deal. I think Caitlin Clark being the 10th player on the Olympic team, it's nice, but I don't think it's a huge game changer one way or the other.
Well, again, are we asking, her being in the WNBA is already the game changer.
Yeah,
this could just be a little icing on the cake or what have you. And, like, again, it's different than the Winter Olympics, where I know the NHL takes a break and guys go play Olympic hockey, but you still have you still have other sports that are going on. This is the summer. You might actually get a little time and a little bit of the spotlight and stage to yourself. Or not to yourself, but you're going to get some attention here. I just think it would have been smart to put her on the team. So now she's an alternate. Yeah. So I don't know what that does, because if there actually were veterans who didn't want her on the team, if that storyline is true, which I have no idea if it is, then what happens when she makes the team? How are they going to act? How are they going to treat her? What's going to go on here?
I assume
the interpersonal is definitely part of the story.
I mean, they're professionals. I assume they're going to treat her just fine, right? Is there any chance? What are they going to freeze her out of the buffet line?
I don't know. The Dream Team guys didn't treat Leitner very nicely, according to Jack McCallum's book.
But Leitner was like an intern on that team. It was a totally different scenario.
That's true.
USA Basketball said we have to get one college player, and they picked College Player of the Year. Like, nobody thought Christian Leitner deserved to be there. It's different. And the funny thing is, too, I was surprised to find out that Breanna Stewart made it as a rookie and Sabrina Ionescu made it as a rookie. So they probably should have just popped her on there for that very reason. But I think the scenario where she doesn't play, because this idea of the WNBA against Caitlin Clark, definitely good for ratings. Like, that's a great narrative. That's almost pro wrestling like. Like, everybody loves Caitlin Clark. Nobody's tuning in to watch. Hey, it's a love fest. I mean, obviously competition drives interest. I think this is kind of a cool setup. And they get a lot of attention. Like, that elbow was the elbow heard around the world. That's the biggest story of the entire summer.
That could be a little, forgive the comparison, a little Pete Rose. Like, Pete Rose out of the Hall of Fame is way more interesting than Pete Rose being in the Hall of Fame. If he was in the Hall of Fame, he'd be another Hall of Fame.
Right.
Yeah.
Like Roger Clemens throwing the bat at Mike Piazza. Like, like tension and things not working perfectly can be interesting too. So her going to the Olympics, I'm not sure that's so interesting. Maybe it will be. I think it'll be fine. You're right, she'll get a lot of attention. I like something you said the other day. Maybe young fans will be watching that and be like, oh, I want to see this other person play in the pros. I want to see Breanna Stewart more. But I think it's marginal. Her going to the Olympics is not the game changer that her coming to the WNBA is. Maybe it's a 5% bump.
And again, she has not made the team yet. She's just an alternate. So we'll see what happens with Team USA. Meanwhile, last night, another brutal loss for her Fever. It's been rough. 3 wins on the season, but just rough. And not only were they getting blown out last night, but basically all starters got pulled from the game. And the coach afterwards said it's because she can't coach effort. I told you I thought the vibes were off on this team. I think I got a little more, ammo for that and a little more evidence, because they shouldn't be super tired at this point. I know that the schedule was brutal at the beginning, but they weren't playing a back-to-back. They played on Friday and then they're playing on Monday. Well, everyone should have been rested. Yes.
There is a reason why they had the number 1 pick
2 years in a row.
Right.
Yeah, no,
So,
they're not great.
they're not great.
But why not give effort?
Well, maybe go look at the coach then.
I was wondering about that. I'm wondering about the coach, and maybe any coach wouldn't have maybe survive it. I don't know. I don't know about Chrissy Sags.
They need someone in there that's going to, rattle some heads. Who knows?
Run a couple easier plays for Caitlin Clark so she gets a nicer look at the basket.
Yeah, or really feature the offense around her. Like focus it on.
Yeah, the times I've watched, it doesn't feel like anything's getting easier for her.
Right.
She's at Iowa. Everyone knew she was going to shoot the ball, and everyone was trying to cover her. It kind of feels like the same thing now. It doesn't feel like she's getting nice looks at the basket.
You want growth, and you're not getting growth.
Well, we're at 12 games in, but yeah, I hear.
But you're not getting. It should be slowly progressing upwards.
It feels like right now it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But she had that 30-point game, and then so that's kind of natural. I mean, maybe we're putting a little too much pressure on Caitlin Clark and this team. We said we knew they were going to be bad.
That's true, but again, when a coach's calling out effort, that's always what gets your attention. 855-212-4227. Okay, so recapping, Caitlin, an alternate, not on the team yet, but looks like she could be heading to Paris, 1 step away from making that team. All right, coming up, we will talk more about Dan Hurley saying no to the Lakers. What does this mean for LA? What does it mean for LeBron? So many things to get to. It's Maggie Perloff on Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Bogusch.
Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
Very.
4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
Splash. Rike Oguwale.
2 minutes remaining.
Ella de Cruz.
He then onto the ladder turns his back.
1 minute, 30 seconds remaining.
Scary talk.
1 minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. We've been dissecting every angle of the Dan Hurley decision. He will not be going to the Lakers, going back to UConn. Maggie and I kind of disagree on some of the behind-the-scenes mechanics. I think the Lakers didn't offer him enough money. And obviously, going back to UConn to try to three-peat is very attractive. Maggie, you think there was probably some incentive of him to increase his salary at UConn as well?
Yeah, I don't know if he was actually ever interested in the Laker job. And I think that it was an important detail that only came out after the fact is that he was in an active contract negotiation with UConn when suddenly the Laker job looked really appealing. But this is why we have experts on the subject. And that's why we turn to Dana O'Neill's a senior college basketball writer for The Athletic. Dana, thanks so much for the time. How are you?
I am well, thank you. It's been a hectic few days.
Understatement, right?
For air.
Yeah, I mean, we want to dive into what that's been like for you. How real do you think Dan Hurley's interest was in the Laker job?
I think it was legit. I mean, having talked to Dan, and I've known him, since he was a player. So, I think he's 51 years old, and he has told me repeatedly he's not going to coach forever. He's not going to be a lifer. I think the temptation to see, can I handle an NBA job, was legitimate. The Lakers are the Lakers, despite their current dysfunction. And, you won 2 national championships at UConn. So, okay, what else can I do? Yeah, you can win 3. So I think there was a definite interest in it. I'm not sure. Obviously, it wasn't strong enough to lure him. But I don't think this was just a ploy. I really don't. I think it was something he was trying to figure out at this point in my life. Is this the time to make the jump or not?
Do you think money played a role? Like if the Lakers had upped their offer and maybe was there an offer he couldn't refuse in any sense?
I don't know. I mean, it sounds tempting to say that because obviously we're all hardwired to try to maximize our salaries, right? But I think more to the point was I think from what I've heard from people, not from I should quantify. I haven't talked to Dan yet myself, but from what I've heard from people at UConn, I think he was a little bit sort of disgruntled isn't probably too strong of a word, but kind of curious as to why a new contract from UConn was taking so long after he won back-to-back national championships, which, doesn't happen often. So I think he was more a little bit frustrated that hadn't happened. And so, if this helped steamroll things along, I think he wanted to be appreciated from UConn. Had the Lakers offered him like some exorbitant amount of money, could he have gone? Yeah, but he's wired weird. I mean, he's a competitor. I think what would be most attractive to him about taking a different job is the challenge of trying to do something people say you can't more than the cash. That's how he's hardwired. If anything was wrong with UConn is that it had become not easy, certainly, but he had climbed the mountaintop, and Dan is someone who loves to climb. So what happens when you get to the top of it, right? Like that's the challenge. And the thought of maybe being the guy that could rebuild the Lakers when nobody says you can, especially as a college coach, I'm sure is something that lit a fire under him a little bit.
We're talking with Dana O'Neill, who's a senior college basketball writer for The Athletic. Then why not take on the challenge of the Lakers? And would going back to UConn, even with a raise, going to feel stale?
Yeah, I think I'm curious to hear that for myself. I mean, he's got a press conference and he hasn't really said much about it. I do think a couple of things. One, I mean, look, the Lakers are a dysfunctional mess for 1,000 reasons. So, you take that job, and what happens? I mean, the success rate of anybody in the NBA is minimal at this point. I do wonder, the way he is, I've been to enough of his practices, I don't know if he could temper his personality appropriately to coach NBA players. He is not easy to play for, and he asks a lot, and college kids are willing to take it. I'm not sure if NBA players were not. I mean, he's got a family. Everything about him is from the East Coast, born and raised in New Jersey. His parents are here. His wife is from here. His brother's in Arizona, but, who knows for how much longer. I think that probably factored into it. And look, I mean, there's going to be other NBA jobs open for Dan Hurley at some point. Maybe he can take a better one down the road. Like, again, I know it's the Lakers and it's got that name brand, but my Lord, what a mess they are right now.
Dana, I've always wondered, how does Storrs, Connecticut get the best basketball players in the world? It's not even New Jersey. It's kind of out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and it's one of the 7 wonders of the world, honestly. When I used to go, the first time I actually used to go up regularly to UConn back when I was covering Villanova when I was working in Philadelphia, I remember asking somebody, where should I stop to eat before the game? And they said, not Storrs. That was the answer. Look, I mean, Jim Calhoun built that thing from gravel. It didn't exist when I wrote a book about the Big East, and I know this firsthand. When the Big East was forming, only Dave Gavitt saw reason to take UConn because they were a nothing school in the middle of nowhere. Didn't fit the Big East mold. But Jim Calhoun, by sheer personality and will, built that into something that matters. I think certainly the women's program adds cachet to it. It's got it going on both sides. Players you talk to say that they love it there because there's not a whole lot to do except play basketball. But I think at the end of the day, what makes any place appealing to a athlete is the coach. UConn has been really smart. They've had great coaches. I mean, even Kevin Ollie in between Calhoun and Hurley won a national championship. They've had the right person that people want to play for, and they win. That makes living in Storrs a whole lot more tolerable than maybe it would be if they weren't very good.
Dana O'Neill's joining us. She's a senior college basketball writer for The Athletic. And I do want to ask you quickly about Coach Hurley's practices. You get a unique insight, right? Because, Dana, you get to watch all different coaches run all different types of practices. Can you peel back the curtain for us behind the scenes? How is a Dan Hurley practice different from a Coach K practice, a Roy Williams practice, a Bill Self practice? How is it unique?
Yeah, look, they're all tough. I mean, the guy, nobody is easy to play for these days. I think what makes Dan just runs hot all the time, and he's there's such energy in his practice from him. Like, he just can't sit still. He's running around. He's demanding. He's screaming. He does not tolerate even the smallest mistake. I went to practice this past year, and they were in Gamble at the time, and if you made a mistake, you ran the stairs in Gamble. And at one time, one of his players screwed up, and Dan didn't even have to tell him to go around the stairs. He just self-punished because they were just so accustomed to, I'm going to run. I might as well just start now before he tells me to. But what makes it work, I think, is that in the middle of practice, he's crazy, intense, insane, demanding, and then he just starts laughing and cutting jokes and making fun of somebody, and he gets in the layup line and starts shooting half-court shots. So there's still this very much, he's young, he's appealing, he's fun to be around, he asks a lot of them, and they give it to him, but he also breaks it up with, they like being around him because he's funny and he's clever, but he's cutting. I mean, he will just, honestly, you better be made of some stuff, because even if it's not yelling at you, just the looks that he gives or the withering cuts and the digs, man, I mean, he's rough, but he's also fun with it. He cares about them. And honestly, having watched him at practice and then at a game, he's on the officials. Everyone knows that during the game, and he'll get on his players. But honestly, when the game starts, he's kind of like, I'm going to trust these dudes. I've put in everything I can. He's a very different coach with his team during the course of a game than he is during a practice. It's kind of fascinating to watch. Old school is kind of lazy because I think there's still a lot of coaches that are like that, and we just don't recognize that. But he is just very, very exacting. I mean, you talk to the players and they laugh about it, but there is no room for error at all.
Man, you just described what would be a great coach for the Los Angeles Lakers.
They could use a little of that.
Give me all that.
From the steps. Why not?
But that's the thing. I mean, that's and I don't know that this is true or not, but that's the argument is that will NBA players tolerate that, right? That's what we always hear and we always argue is that NBA players won't tolerate that sort of coach because it's a player-driven league. Is that true? I don't know, but that seems to be the argument against.
Well, what about another former college coach? Jay Wright has been linked possibly to the job. Do you think there's any chance that will happen?
They have more of a chance of hiring me. So no. No.
Why?
No. I've known Jay for a bazillion years. I mean, I guess you can never say never, right? I'd be careful to quantify anything. But having talked to him multiple times about jobs, he left Villanova because he wanted to and he was ready to do something different. He is loving his CBS life and going to the beach and going to Florida and enjoying himself. The NBA thing, I think, appealed to him for a little while, and then he kind of got around it with USA Basketball and was less sure that he could do it, like because of all the reasons I just said. I mean, people don't know Jay. What you see on the outside as Mr. Nice Guy is not who he is in practice. He's not easy to play for either. And I think having been around the USA Basketball, he kind of thought that maybe he wouldn't work well in the NBA setting. Again, never say never, but I can't imagine him moving to Los Angeles. His wife would probably tie him to a tree first. So I could be dead wrong, but I would be peel me off the pavement shocked if he did it.
Dana O'Neill joining us, senior college basketball writer for The Athletic, and talking about Dan Hurley and his decision to stay at UConn as opposed to coach the Lakers, which was kind of this Haley's Comet of a story. It just sort of came out of nowhere, but maybe they were targeting from the beginning and they were ready to offer a contract, but at the same time, they hadn't met with him yet, and now maybe J.J. Redick is the front runner, but maybe it's Jay Wright. There's a million different ways this thing could go. Dana, before we let you go, can I ask you a question about Caitlin Clark? Obviously, covered college hoops for a really long time. Now her transition to the WNBA, and it's been a little rough. And now the story about Team USA, she might be an alternate, but obviously was left off the initial roster. What's your thoughts on Caitlin, and what's been the most surprising part of the story?
I think what's been the most surprising part of the story is that everything she does becomes like this referendum on something. I mean, everything she does becomes a mess. It's insane. It's not her fault. She's just going out and playing basketball. And I'm amazed at just sort of how chaotic it's all been. I think there's a lot going on with that. There's, a lot of, I don't say jealousy is probably too strong of a word, but sort of, hey, don't forget about us among her fellow WNBA brethren. With the Olympic situation, look, the roster they made is pretty darn good. I mean, if you were going to look at that roster and tell me this is a lousy roster and they desperately need Caitlin Clark, I'd agree with you, but they have a pretty good roster going to Paris. Would it have been easier just to put her on? Yes. But at whose expense becomes the question. I thought she handled it graciously. I mean, looking at it as a challenge, like, hey, this is something I now have to work for. I'm just mesmerized, I think, though, by every time I go on Twitter or anything, it's like something else is going on with Caitlin Clark. We just can't calm down. I'm not sure what that's all about, to be honest with you, but I think at some point we just need to let her play and figure it out and move along. I think she's great for the league, and anybody who wants to argue that is crazy. People are paying attention. People are talking about the WNBA. They go to games. They're watching games. That's important. So, yeah, I get why putting her on the Olympic team makes sense from maybe a marketing perspective. But if you don't think she's going to play a lot or she's not going to make your team better, then you get to make that argument as a coach. I mean, smarter people than me are selecting that team, I would argue.
Dana, thank you so much for the time today. Dana O'Neill's a senior college basketball writer for The Athletic, breaking down the Danny Hurley stuff and a little Caitlin Clark on the side, of course. Thank you, Dana.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys. Take care.
Appreciate that. Dana's great.
Man, it's so funny. I'm not sure I could play for one of these hardcore college coaches. she painted a tough picture. Not tough, like good. Like that's how a team should be coached. But gosh, it sounds like you have to have a certain personality to play for Danny Hurley.
Yeah, I mean, I think all these guys are really intense, all the coaches, but it's like, what do how much are the players willing to take, you know?
Yeah, they do love him, though. I mean, Bob Knight was the worst, and he had a lot of very loyal players.
Yeah, but you know how it's different in college. Like, first of all, every college basketball player, and Bogusch can attest to this because he does Fordham, everyone thinks they're going to the NBA, even if they're not. And so there's like this carrot, this major carrot that can be dangled out there at all times. When you're in the NBA and you're getting paid $30 million a year as a backup, then, you know, that carrot's not the same.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah, so there's not the incentive to play team basketball. But then again...
Or just take any,
but you always
know what, from a coach.
You have a new contract coming up, so you want playing time. There's a little bit you can do to make sure a player goes along. And also, too, on the great teams, it seems like the leader gets everyone. Like LeBron's job is also to help everybody listen to the coach, right? Because Steph Curry and the Warriors, everyone plays as a team. So I'm not sure I totally agree that all NBA guys are not going to listen to the coach.
No, but it's like if one guy is upset... And if it happens to be a star, then you're basically gone, you know?
You're kind of a loser team all of a sudden, yeah.
Yeah, so...
But there are a lot of teams that aren't like that play as a team.
True. Okay, Bogusch is here. He's got headlines for us. Hi.
Guys, the Florida Panthers are taking a 2-0 lead to Edmonton for the next 2 games of the Stanley Cup Final, but the status of their captain, center Alexander Barkov, is unclear after a high hit from Leon Draisaitl in the third period last night. Florida head coach Paul Maurice asked for his feelings on the hit.
This isn't the Oprah Winfrey Show. My feelings don't matter.
That's a dated reference, but we get it. Draisaitl given a 2-minute minor for roughing. The Panthers took advantage.
Anton Lundell near side. Lets it rip. Tipped and they score! Evan Rodriguez got a stick on it, and the Panthers make them pay. It's 3-1. 7:34 to go in the third. Evan Rodriguez has 2.
Doug Plagens, Panthers Radio. Florida winning 4-1 for that 2-0 lead. Game 3 in Edmonton on Thursday night. In non-Laker head coaching news, the Suns reportedly hiring former Washington head coach and Syracuse assistant Mike Hopkins for Mike Budenholzer's staff. Caitlin Clark just 10 points. Her Fever with their 10th loss, 89-72 at the Connecticut Sun last night. The Sun have won the last 11 meetings between these two, including 3 this season. In Seattle last night, the White Sox had a 4-0 lead entering the bottom of the 8th. The Mariners then scored 4 and kept going their next time up.
There it is right there. He crushes it. And the Mariners have gone home a winner. A 3-run jack by a big thumper, Cal Raleigh. It's a 7-4 Mariners victory.
The great Dave Sims on Root Sports. A few things to go through there. It was actually a grand slam, not a 3-run homer. So the Mariners actually won 8-4, not 7-4, but who's counting? And yes, Cal Raleigh's nickname is the Big Dumper, not to be confused with Big Thumpers for Maggie's feet.
Whoa, there was a lot going on there.
Yes.
Wait, now I'm confused. I heard... What did the two topics have to do with each other, Andrew?
It's all one topic. The call was factually, we lost a base runner in Dave Sims' mind. The bases were loaded, so it was a grand slam. It wasn't a...
Why are you taking a shot at Dave Sims?
No, it's about facts, getting everything right.
Wait,
okay.
The big thing about it's like that call was sold.
Yeah.
In parlance, you know, like you went all in on that call.
And we were off a little bit. And the guy who hit it is named Cal Raleigh, and in the call he says his nickname, which is the Big Dumper, which made me think of Maggie's feet.
But is that really his nickname?
Yeah.
It is. Okay.
The Big Dumper.
So he was accurate on that part.
That's correct, yes. He was 1 for 3 on his
That's
facts.
what the White Sox should be named.
Yeah, I was about to say.
9, the whole lineup. Yeah.
We're going to choose to focus on that nickname because that's one of my takeaways from this bizarre story.
That's why I brought it up.
Has he always been called that? That's kind of a weird nickname. Can I just you know how I was defending goalies not being defense players?
Yeah.
Dave was right. Bottom line, they won the game. It didn't matter how many they scored.
Oh, no, but it would drive me nuts going home last night that I was off by 1 in a huge moment like that.
You don't want to get into our heads as broadcasters.
Yeah.
We can't even have a moment's peace.
He's practicing for John Sterling's chair.
Well, that's the big question. That is the big question.
I hope they don't get a hold of that clip.
You're hired.
No,
Manny Gregori just dropped it on our boss's desk.
He's only called 10,000 baseball games.
Yeah.
There's plenty of tape, plenty of great tape for Dave.
He's one of
Sims.
the best.
Yeah, he is.
Great guy, too. Okay, or not.
No, I think he's great. I
was waiting for Pete to join in. I always
very friendly to me. Yes, Very nice guy. And I hope he, if Seattle's not the full-term life thing for him, and he ends up in
Full-term life insurance.
By the way, New York.
That's
fine with me too.
This is going to be the last time I ever share anything with you guys about any particular part of my body.
Feet?
All I'd said was I got a size 9 shoe, and all of a sudden it's like I'm Bigfoot.
Well, if the skis fit.
We were just finding out if there's an OnlyFans for that.
Yes, well, that's true.
Yeah, you actually started that conversation, to be clear.
Well, all I just said was that like many female broadcasters, we have been asked for feet pictures before. But I think it's kind of a joke. If I could actually make money on it, I would have done it. That means I'm a size 7 in men's. You realize this?
Okay.
That's
I have to go back for 1 second.
Yeah,
Would you really take money to show your feet? You say that flippantly.
How much are we talking?
$20,000.
Definitely. I thought you were going to say 200.
You definitely do not do that. You do not show your feet for $20,000. That's a big mistake, Maggie.
Perloff, I'm telling you, I would do that for $20,000. Do you guys think money? Like, what do you think? It's not that easy to come by.
Adam Schefter goes, what's that website where you can buy a message?
Cameo?
He went on Cameo or something. People made fun of him mercilessly for 2 years. Your feet get out there on the internet, Maggie, that's going to be terrible for you.
But I don't have bad feet, so it's not like I would be
I think you're missing the point a little bit.
Listen, what people do with my
Broadcaster
feet,
Maggie Gray sells picture of her feet for $20,000. That is not the headline you want.
Oh, I would love it. I'd be like, I'm an entrepreneur, guys.
You might get back in the garden for that. Ban lifted.
Honestly,
what kind of guy
I get a free shot.
I could have been there this whole time.
As your financial advisor, honestly, you don't take those puppies off for anything less than $100.
No, I feel like for you, Perloff, you'd be like, well, what state are you in? If it's in California, forget it.
Well, it's a taxable.
Yeah.
Well, no, you're in New York.
You and Danny Hurley
that's the thing.
talking
20,000. I actually thought $20,000. Wow, you take home $9,000 to ruin your reputation.
How would I ruin my reputation?
You
It's my feet. It's not my anything else.
Do you think Edward R. Murrow took his shoes off and sold pictures of his feet on the internet?
In what universe?
Get $20,000.
I think Barbara Walters did.
By the way, $20,000 back in his day was like $1 million.
You're saying he would have if he could have, if there was an internet.
And secondly, who has ever
Put up
confused
that
me
poll,
with Edward
Ryan.
R. Murrow?
Put up that poll. Would Edward Murrow have sold pictures of his feet back in the day if such a thing existed?
Yeah, side poll.
Yes and yes.
Also, side poll. Do you know who Edward R. Murrow is? It's my pre-poll question.
Actually, winning a Murrow award is actually now just best feet. It's not best broadcast.
Honestly, the only reason that name came to mind is because Bill Walton said that Maggie and I were the clear successors to Edward R. Murrow.
He did say that. And,
He was looking down, though.
He's like,
it's a long way. That's how you can see my feet from outer space, or 7'2", however tall.
Yeah.
Bill
He was
Walton.
like, a tradition when we were on CBS Sports Radio. A tradition that started with Edward R. Murrow, then went to Walter Cronkite, then Dan Rather, then Taz, then Maggie and Perloff.
Checks notes.
Sorry,
Taz,
that's
okay.
inside joke, CBS Sports Radio. I was thinking of Pete talking about all the people he'd worked with the other day.
It's a whole, you can line them up on a balcony.
Were there any Pulitzer Prize winners on that list?
Oh, yeah, John Feinstein.
Yes.
John?
Bill Walton, very anti-moose. He liked Taz, but not moose.
He liked moose. He didn't like the moose.
Maggie and Perloff taking the tradition of Edward R. Murrow, Dan
Bill Paley.
Rather,
Yeah.
Zach Gelb.
Listen, we're not
Bart
sure
Winkler.
at the
Brian
time.
Jones.
Listen, in Bill's defense, he was very stoned.
No, he's being very nice.
I'm just kidding.
He was extremely nice, well researched. He was awesome.
He was fantastic. And we have that clip now forever, which was really a
so
compliment.
but my point is that just an esteemed journalist like yourself should hold out for more money when they show their feet to strangers.
I'm about to eat lime jello with tuna fish in it. What part of me is an esteemed journalist? That died the moment I left Sports Illustrated. And honestly, I don't even know if it was there when I was outside.
Yeah.
Just in case the Jill doesn't do it, we're going
I'm
to
not
wash
saying
it down
don't
with
do it.
Bulls
I'm just
testing.
saying bargain Danny Hurley style. Get different competing offers out there.
We should get
Have Woj do a report. Maggie Gray is willing to sell her feet. She's getting offers from here, and here.
If I had Woj in the bag like that, it'd be great. Media mouthpiece.
We should get a journalist to call you eating that, whatever that thing is, on whenever we do it.
Well, I mean, I was going to go with Bogusch, but sure. He
That's
called
journalist.
Perloff eating the chili.
Wait, By the way, Maggie, you have a media mouthpiece yourself.
Yeah, but no one's going to believe it coming from me.
Well, that's
I'm too close to the project.
No, you're also too cheap. $20,000 for foot pictures? Heck, I'm thinking about investing in that. I'm just kidding. I'm not into it.
You got to tell us how many inbox messages you get with that offer.
We're doing a little test today. What makes you think I'm not putting out the feelers right now? America.
I think you are.
She's typing with her feet right now.
I want to be.
I don't exactly have the assets of Kate from Edmonton, so I got to go to the next best thing. My gigantic feet.
I want to be your agent. Like, yeah, we have to publicize these feet. Maybe go to a game and hold them up for the camera.
I think you should pitch that to Ryan Hurley. I'm sure.
Instead of like,
see how that conversation goes.
Yeah. Hey, new boss, let's sit down. Can I put my feet up on the desk? You know how people like have those big heads that they hold up, like in the crowd?
Yeah, definitely.
It'd just be my feet.
Yes.
Behind someone shooting free throws.
Giant foot.
It's about the same size.
That's true.
Feet are actual size.
It's like actual representation. Not to scale. It's not to scale.
You see
To
Dave
scale.
LaGreca a foot and Mike Francesa.
That's actually the sideline for Oregon. That means handoff.
I think it would be go for the field goal. Would be more
That's too
logical,
obvious.
but
No.
you're right. You want
Yeah.
to mix them up.
No, that would, of course, like USC is going to sniff that out.
Yeah.
I think we got to go for mystery here. I think we got to release the pictures
Yeah.
that we assume are your huge, glorious
Yeah.
feet. We never confirm it.
How about one toe at a time?
Yeah. I mean, we're sitting on a gold mine here, people.
She's standing on them.
You're standing on a gold mine.
Two gigantic goals.
I don't know why we expect Maggie to share some of this foot money with us.
$5,000 a toe.
We're the idea men.
Yeah. You need us in your corner to sell these feet
No, I'm
properly.
not. I'm going to need all this money to buy my gigantic shoes. There's going to be nothing left over for you guys. Giving me a pedicure is like a two-man job. It's like they wash down
He's a
elephants.
paint roller.
Need a scaffold crew.
So funny.
We need a team.
So funny. If you're not actually, I've been around you every day for 3 years and not noticed your feet once. They're so normal. I love this fact that we got this.
Like,
Never
big
said,
bird
if you
walking
had
around.
never said that, we would never know you had big
Somebody
feet.
on the chat was like, Maggie's feet are webbed. I'm like, wait a minute. That's not the joke. The joke is that they're big. I'm not an amphibian.
But you don't need flippers when you swim.
No, very fast. 855-212-4227. Don't call in about that, actually. I'm not sure why. I just gave the number. Coming up, we've got the new odds-on favorite, for finals MVP. The numbers are changing rapidly. We'll get to that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Got a little update for you from Bengals mandatory mini camp, Pearl. What's the latest?
So, according to Rap Sheet, Ian Rappaport, NFL Network, T. Higgins, the franchise tag wide receiver, has still not signed his tag and is not present. He is not subject to fines. That must be something to do with not signing the tag yet. Jamar Chase is present. That's a nice sign because apparently Jamar Chase wants to work on his deal. He's still on his rookie deal. Where do you see this T. Higgins thing going?
I see T. Higgins coming back to the team.
With whatever
do.
they offer him.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that was just for 1 year and then maybe hitting the market next year.
Yeah, because I don't see where the trade's going to come in now that's all of a sudden going to turn the Bengals' heads, you know? I guess maybe if there's kind of an injury or something in training camp and a team gets really desperate. But again, this is for a wide receiver, not a quarterback. So I don't know how desperate teams get for wide receivers. Like, you know, if someone goes down in training camp or something, would they trade for T? I don't know.
That money, because you have to, it's not just trading him. You have to trade for him and you have to pay him. We talked about it earlier in the show, the wide receiver pay is getting crazy.
Yep.
So if Justin Jefferson, it's like getting another quarterback in the building. So I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, you had your 7 points.
Yeah.
For why?
Yeah, it's up on, I'm doing these pieces for Athlon Sports, which is awesome. And it's funny. It was going great until you had to bring up A.J. Brown to the Eagles. Which I got a couple tweets saying, what about the fact?
Your team made it to the Super
I'm
Bowl?
like, what the heck, Maggie? You're supposed to support me. But I did have I think I had some really good points. But
you definitely do.
Maybe there's no rule here, but I do think I think the pay for running backs was huge, and we didn't realize that the market could fall apart because if you're going to pay $35 million for Justin Jefferson, and it's going to keep going. If CeeDee Lamb, you think CeeDee Lamb is going to match that?
I think he's going to get damn close. Yeah,
and that means the next guy is going to match it. We're going to get to 40 soon. Like this can't continue because there's not going to be enough space.
Yeah, talking about the NFL. I'm waiting for what do they call it? Market inefficiencies or whatever,
Yeah.
where everyone's paying big money for running backs, so then you zag and you just do it by committee and you don't pay anybody.
Right.
Or everyone's paying big money for wide receivers, now you zag and you just do like a wide variety, different flavors of wide receiver.
By committee. It's
with
exactly the same thing.
Right. I mean, Chiefs are a little different because they always have Kelsey. He is a wide receiver one in a tight end body with a tight end salary.
Okay.
They got very lucky there that, well, not lucky, they drafted him, but he's played ball with them and probably could be paid a lot more if he like was reclassified as a wide receiver. Anyway, the real one comes with the quarterbacks. Who's going to be the team? And I'm kind of looking at the 49ers on this one. Like, who's going to be the team that's saying, listen, $60 million or whatever for a quarterback is $60 million a year is just way too much. So how are we going to market inefficiency that? How are we going to circumvent having to pay that much of the cap to a quarterback?
Well, I mean,
whose team is going to do that?
Tom Brady took a little bit less, so he didn't get up to 60. And first of all, I think it's going to be Dallas with Dak possibly is going to get 60, not necessarily Brock Purdy and the Niners.
No, I'm wondering if Brock Purdy and the Niners, like, did the Niners draft somebody? Like, did they do something to try
I think they pay Brock Purdy 50.
They probably do. But
yeah, I see what you're saying. But I think
like your Eagles try to do it with Jalen Hurts, I think, with drafting him and sort of like maybe that Carson Wentz, you push him out, but then they paid Hurts because he got to the Super Bowl.
It's so much easier. I mean, as I mentioned, there's 10 great wide receivers in the NFL every year. There are not 10 great quarterbacks. Supply and demand. Basic economics, Meg. I tell you all the time. That's why we got to sell your feet for the right price.
The pictures, not the actual feet. I need those. Ryan Botcher, thank you. People Adi, thank you. Andrew Bogusch, Andrew Kaplan, Weedos, Coffee Drinkers. You know who you are. We're back tomorrow. I'm done with him.
You're in a 5-minute break.